Oh, I'm not supposed to do that. What is that? What is virtual camera? What does that even mean if I click it? I have no idea.
Try to.
What's up, lunatics? This is Tape Eaters. We're gonna talk more
What's
about
up?
dinosaurs and shit. We got Southern Pollock
We got
here.
dragons.
Yeah.
We
What up,
got
Pollock?
animal attacks.
It's hopefully. I do have at least a couple of those. I forgot to get the most recent ones, maybe the most important ones. Maybe I'll download them on the fly. Maybe I won't. Flame Upon Herb is here.
What's up, guys?
Yo, dude.
Greetings.
We got homeboy Nobody on the call.
What's up?
Chilling, Brad. What's up, Brad?
My microphone stand broke, so I have to start podcasting again to buy a new one.
Maybe you could get like a K-pop stan.
K-pop.
Got him.
That
Did you see?
Alright.
Did you see the
Alright.
fucking world's
No,
handsomest
no.
man bullshit?
No! Shut the fuck up!
Hey, chat. Hey, chat. Did you know that Brad's favorite show is Family Guy? He would be Peter Griffin's top guy.
He'd be Peter Griffin.
Ah!
Peter Griffin. He would be like, I'm going to bat for you, Peter Griffin.
I know.
I'm going to.
Ah!
Brad's originally from Quahog, so it's kind of understandable. That's why I like Boy Meets World.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, the Riddler is just like me.
We were also recently talking about the essence of good gameplay mechanics, and we decided that it's all about the digging. And Brad is like me; he's a digger.
Yeah, I
Oh,
love
just-
Dig Dug, bro. You ever played Dig Dug?
Dig Dug.
Once, maybe. I'm lying.
Isn't that like that game's weird because you like pump up monsters with like an air hose and blow them up? It's fucking
Yeah.
strange.
Hell
It
yeah,
was the
it's
first
hot.
inflation
It's horrific,
simulator.
dude.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Fucking nice, dude. Fucking nice. So while you guys are watching inflation porn, I was watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I do think they're the best movies ever made. I think Fellowship is probably the best movie ever made because it has the least action and the most dicking around in the grass.
It has the cave troll.
They all got cave trolls, bro. There's no shortage of cave
Yeah,
trolls,
but like
really.
the big goblin
Yeah,
cave
you're right.
troll.
They got the one in the cave. That
Yeah.
motherfucker. Yeah, dude. Fucking. First of all, best movie trilogy, right? Right.
It is up there. It's
Countersignal
good.
me.
Like,
Of
I'd say,
recent
yeah.
years.
Of recent years. What the fuck even
No,
compares
I'd
to
say
it?
that's
Like
like
The
fucking-
Godfather. No,
I don't know,
nothing.
I feel like
All over soil.
Star Wars.
Soil.
Maybe the original Star Wars trilogy for
Oh, the
someone,
original
not
Star
for
Wars
me.
are good.
nah, that shit's retarded.
I like
That's the thing,
puppets.
though, like, yeah.
I don't know. I haven't watched those fucking movies. Maybe ever. Maybe.
Like the lore is there. It's just the modern fucking production and like the fan base are what kills that franchise
Well,
for me.
welcome to Lord of the Rings, baby. It's
that's
exactly the
right.
same.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Hey,
The-
dude, watching
the Queen of Queef Mountain.
watching the Lord of the Rings dude, I got so mad while watching that, just thinking about how much I hate The Hobbit. Fucking
The Hobbit.
unbelievable, dude. Those movies suck absolute
They
cock,
did.
man.
I fucking turned the first one off because I was like, is this ever gonna have a fucking point?
I have no recollection of anything that happens in any of those fucking movies. I watched them pretty recently. I have no fucking recollection.
I watched them when they came out and I was like, this is not as good as the trilogy.
You know what
I was just, yeah.
I realized when I was a kid, I thought I was like Aragorn. I'm the hero. But then I got older and I'm like, nah, I like second breakfast and pipeweed. I'm the hobbit. And then now I realize though that I am Gollum, always looking to return to some past that doesn't exist anymore. It just ain't there.
Gollum up in
But
here.
in the end, you get to be the hero as Gollum.
But you ever hear like Gollum, like some of his like traits and stuff, like it's kind of like Wendigos and shit, where he's like being punished and he looks like that because of the treachery and stuff. And,
Yeah, he do be a
Yeah.
weird little rake-like creature that gets an extended lifespan, turns all gangly.
yeah, and like he likes to eat gross stuff and vaguely
doesn't.
cannibalistic. Yeah, because it said he liked to eat orcs, like in the books, like he'd scavenge dead orcs.
Yeah, dude, I'm definitely Gollum. That's how. And like, what's my ring? What's my precious heroin? Pharmaceutical opiates, I guess. I'm not really sure, but
Chinese research chemicals.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say that. Taz.
Hell yeah. Dude, Legolas is so gay. I hate that fucking guy. When he starts doing Tony Hawk Pro Skater shits on the elephants, man, I rage. That's the one thing about those movies that I seriously hate.
Well, elven kind is just like gay in general. Like in any fantasy, like look at the elves and fucking. Besides the Dunmer, the elves and Elder Scrolls are all like gay.
Well, even the Dunmer are pretty gay. Don't they do a lot of just like
yes.
whining about how they're discriminated against constantly?
Yeah. I mean, that's in Skyrim, but the Dunmer and Morrowind are like a different.
Well, that's when
Like in their own culture, yeah.
that's when they get the majority population. They don't have to use Takia anymore. They don't have to lie.
Yeah, because of the fucking what was it? The eruption of Red Mountain.
Yeah, I hate that fucking thing. It's gone.
And in the heart of Lorcan.
We got Autopilot in the chat. Midwest Vikinger throws a whoop whoop out there. What up, Jugs? Based Family Guy enjoyer, dude. Come on, get out of the chat. No.
Yeah, let's
Yes,
go.
yes,
Let's-
Queen.
Let's fucking
Wignet
go.
Quagmire.
Family Guy time.
Who's got the highest power level in Family Guy? Cleveland.
Like how would Wignat Quagmire be?
God. Unfunny.
Like
Niggity, niggity,
Matt
niggity,
Ryan.
niggity, niggity, niggity.
That's like on the same level
Oh,
as on the chair.
No, it would be
Like, you
no,
come
he
up
would
with the
go-
OC that's like a wig nut, like fucking.
Wignat Quagmire. It's niggity, niggity, niggity. Oh, right.
Oh my god.
God. And that's as far as we can go with that bit, folks.
Yeah, that's as far as that was still gold though. That was fucking good.
Brad stole that joke from me, and I won't regret it.
Here's the thing. Your delivery is terrible.
Dude. Look, I got cucked. I'm like cucked.
Yeah, story of your life,
No.
man.
That
Oh.
mog. Absolute mogging.
All right, where the fuck were we? Let's cut to some video evidence real quick. I'm telling you that dinosaurs are coming back. Here's my proof. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Oh, I'm blowing the joke because I'm not showing it to the boys. Let's try it again.
Here we go.
Is this like a Chinese video?
Yeah.
A Chinese.
I got this from China. Paleontologists in 1938 studying a fish that went extinct 66 million years ago. He's back! Yeah! Woo! Silicon is back! We got him! All my homies are coming back to me! Fuck yeah, folks. We
Bro,
did it.
No, dead ass. I caught one of those in fucking Emerald. Called a relic man. Also,
You can't just
this is
catch it.
They say
this
the
is
alligator
obviously all
gar.
nonsense because the Earth is only 6,000 years old.
They say the alligator gar is like a dinosaur fish. It's like a really fucking old fish.
God, one time when I was a kid, I was supposed to do a book report about a marine animal, and I wanted to do the coelacanth, and then the teacher told me there's just not enough information. This thing barely exists. I'm like, I will show you. I will prove dinosaurs are returning one day. Here we are. Here we alligator gar.
Alligator gar. And we got there's like a whole species of North American fish that live in like the southern US that are like retarded dinosaurs.
I don't believe it.
Like there's the grinnell, what we call, but it's like a bowfin is what it's actually called, and it's a super aggressive, weird snake-looking fish. And they're related to gars. And then we have the gars. And the gars get ridiculously big. Like I think the biggest one ever killed was like 370 something pounds.
My niece done got bit by an alligator gar.
Yeah, they're mean. Like I've stuck my hand on trying to get one free of like a trot line, and he bit the shit out of me, and so I punched him.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Get away from my niece, you piece of shit.
It was like a little one, but he had his teeth all like hung up in the braiding, so he's all tangled. It was a mess. I'm like, I'm gonna be nice and I'm gonna like help him get free because I don't want him like to die. I like try to get it out of his teeth and he like fucking bites my finger.
Did you know that dragons were in ancient history?
Yeah, dude, they were
Yeah, Marco
dinosaurs.
Polo song.
Dinosaurs never
Smoke.
existed, bro.
No, they're just
Polo
dragons.
smoked weed with dragons.
Like I said
Dragon.
earlier, the Earth is actually only 6,000 years old.
Also, they're coming back. So dragon was the name given to the most terrible monsters of the ancient world. Dragons did not really exist, but most people believed in them. The dragons of legend are strangely like actual creatures that have lived in the past. They are much like the great reptiles which inhabited the earth long before man is supposed to have appeared on the earth. Every country had them in its mythology. The article in Dragons for the Encyclopedia Dramatica, blah, blah, blah. They were dragon-like, even though its author assumed that those ancients who believed in dragons did so without the slightest knowledge of dinosaurs. The truth is that the fathers of modern paleontology used the term dinosaur and dragon interchangeably for quite some time. So maybe there is credence to this 6,000-year-old bullshit. This absolute
that's the thing,
fucking
though.
nonsense.
I don't like that's the thing though, because in the Bible, like they're basing this on like the word that's written there in English, which is year.
They're basing
right?
it on the genealogies.
Or that, yeah. And there's just there's no way that the people that lived at the time that was written, they could have used a year like ours. They could have been talking about a decade.
But it's
like a,
no, it is talking about actual years. It is adding up the lifespans of man in order
so
up to now. So it is
that's
using
supposedly
years.
how they're getting the number. Yeah.
Now
But,
consider
I mean,
some of these men lived 900 years.
yeah, that's what they're saying. That's what's fucked up too. Yeah, because some of them live that long. Then I don't know.
Because of the Earth's state before the flood, before the atmosphere and everything was all fucked up.
By that, I believe the atmosphere has changed like a whole lot because there's no way any of those megafauna could like fucking make it with our oxygen levels today. Like if they got like 3 times the size of an African elephant.
That's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
that's why insects were so large, because they like don't have lungs, so they have to like absorb oxygen through their skins.
There's many stories of man being much larger, not just like Nephilim stuff. Like there is in a lot of cultures, there are stories of like
Yeah.
men being 30 feet tall.
Giants. It
That
always
definitely sounds like a giant.
Yeah, I mean, like you get stories of like the
Nephilim
Canaanite
freak.
giant that fucking ate people.
It's true. So in his
And then
18
like I was wondering,
Well,
like if you biblical giant like Goliath or whatever.
well, Goliath was a Rephaim, which was
Yeah.
a holdover from the Nephilim.
Yeah, and then like the Philistines themselves were from.
Was
They
Goliath
believed
in
that.
no, Goliath was a Philistine. My bad. The blood of the Rephaim was still in that area. The Rephaim, I
Yeah,
think, were
yeah.
another tribe.
Because the Philistines were because they ate pork, and then their language is similar to that of like other Aegean languages. So the theory is that a lot of the interaction between them and like the people that would be the Hebrews was, warfare at first, but then like after the David becomes king or whatever, a lot of his like personal mercenaries are fucking Philistines. So they were like very martially valued, even in their area.
Yeah. In his 1828 American Dictionary of English Language, Noah Webster sought out the derivation of the word dragon among the ancient medieval roots. He concluded, hence I infer that the word originally signified a shooting meteor in the atmosphere, a fiery meteor, and hence a fiery or flying serpent, from a root which signified to shoot or draw out. So his first definition of the word dragon was a kind of winged serpent much celebrated in the romance of the Middle Ages. So that derivation doesn't seem quite right to me. That shoot or draw out, I've heard in reference to the fiery flying serpents of the Old Testament, what were called seraphim. I've always heard it in reference to the striking of an actual serpent.
It's like the chaos comp thing. The same thing.
A little bit. It's kind of turned on its head. The Chaos Conf myth, which I would like to go into, but we all need to do a little more study on that. It is usually the battle between a sky god and an entity
serpent,
of like
yeah.
the lower realms, which is
And it's usually a serpent,
It's
yeah.
a serpent or a dragon of some sort. I was talking about that last week in relation to Leviathan. How in the Bible it says that Leviathan is the beast of the seas. Now, he says specifically that no man can subdue him, which is actually in direct opposition to what a lot of these pagan cultures would have believed in the Chaos Conf. How this hero did subdue this beast of the sea. Now, in the comments from last week, someone said that they think the behemoth was in reference to a rhinoceros. And he said he thought the cedar tail made sense. I don't think that makes any fucking sense whatsoever, honestly. The tail of a
Yeah, no,
rhinoceros
because-
is
yeah.
not a cedar. I don't
That's
see that.
puffy. That's like puffy hair.
Yeah, and then in reference to Leviathan, he said that would be a crocodile. Now, the reason I disagree with this specifically is because I do believe the Leviathan is supposed to be this serpent that enclosed the entire world, like through the seas. It's like this giant Ouroboros that encases
Yeah.
the world. That's what the serpent is. And it's always in reference to like from the deeps. So I think Leviathan has to be that serpent. Where was I? Stories of dragons have been handed down for generations in many civilizations. No doubt many of these stories have been exaggerated through the years, but that does not mean they had no original basis in fact. Even some living lizards look like dragons, and it is easy to see how a larger variety of such an animal could frighten a community. Have you ever seen an old dinosaur film where they used an iguana in a miniature town set to create the illusion of a great dragon? Yeah, not very scary. Let's go to some lizards who are kind of scary. Cut to the video footage, the video
see it.
evidence.
See it.
Look at that fucking boy. This Komodo dragon just
Stomping it down.
scarfing down a whole ass deer like it's fucking
It's
nothing.
hungry.
Now, there were larger Komodo dragons that lived
Megalania,
alongside.
wasn't it?
Yes, and that would have been at the same time as like Homo floresiensis. And I'm trying to imagine these little bastards like trying to escape a giant Komodo dragon as it just wolfs one of their
swallows
homies
them.
down. Yeah, holy
Damn,
fuck.
that's horrific, bro.
He
Yeah.
ate that deer. Like it's gone. Like look at this. Like it's just instant.
Head first.
Fuck yeah. If only I could do that. Just deep throat that fucking deer.
You're- They have to go lay in the sun so their body like digests it
Yeah.
properly. I was reading about it.
Well, I'm sure it
Because
doesn't
they're-
eat again for another fucking month.
I think so. Yeah, like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. Next video. Look at these boys. A brutal clash between Komodo dragons on an Indonesian island. Is this like dogfighting to them?
You're fucking.
They fucking-
He's mounting them for dominance.
Look at how they have ear holes. That's weird.
Yeah, just jam a stick in there if I was gonna fight one.
But aren't
He
they
just
like
flipped him
super
over.
venomous? Like most people
it's
who
up for
get bit
grabs.
by,
It's up for grabs. It's been said that it was just like the bacteria in their mouth, but then other people do
Yeah.
say they're venomous.
Because they say like monitor lizards that are the same family have venom, so that it's theorized that they do. But like no one's ever. I guess people are like scared to do tests on them. I don't know.
Ah man, who the fuck knows these fucking science dorks? They don't know.
I mean,
fucking
and
anything.
there's not many of these things left. There's like 3 islands that have them, and I think that's it in Indonesia.
Well, it's another case of like island gigantism, of a
Yeah.
creature being able to find like a whole new ecosystem where it just thrives and there's nothing up against it.
They're the apex predator of that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like one of the only apex predators that's a reptiles besides like Nile crocs and stuff,
Yeah.
and saltwater crocs.
There was a time when fucking crocodiles ran on hooves and would chase your ass
Oh, the
down
babies
nowhere
are
near the
dead?
water.
Jesus.
There was a time. Imagine that. I love like these ancient hoofed animals. Like
These on the show. Is there more?
The murder pigs or hell pigs, you hear about those?
yeah, all that shit. How they were like fucking ungulates that acted as like wolves
Carnivores.
potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
say like they're related to pigs and hippos. They're like the animal that pigs and hippos split from.
Well, they would have,
And they're
in theory, somewhere in that whole fucking that area of thought. I don't want to attribute it to any random fucking species, but like those are the animals that went back into the ocean and became whales, allegedly.
yeah, there's that one too, and it's related to like hippos and pigs too, like weird mammals.
Shit, yeah.
Pigs
Shit,
are
yeah.
strange mammals. Yeah.
Sure are. So in 2004, a fascinating dinosaur skull was donated to the Children's Museum of Indianapolis by 3 Sioux City, Iowa residents who found it during a trip to the Hell Creek Formation in South Dakota. The trio are still excavating the site looking for more of the dinosaur bones. Because of its dragon-like head, horns, and teeth, the new species was dubbed Dracorex hogwartsia. That's the gayest thing I've ever heard.
That is okay.
This name honors the Harry Potter fictional works, which feature the Hogwarts school and recently popularized dragons. The dinosaur's skull mixes spiky horns, bumps, and a long muzzle. But unlike other members of the Pachycephalosaur family, which have domed foreheads, this one is flat-headed. Consider some of the ancient stories of dragons, some fictional, and some that might be authentic history of dinosaurs. Yeah, these sorts of dinosaurs are interesting. They have like the Pachycephalosaurus type dinosaurs, but they don't have the domes. These specifically were dinosaurs that Jack Horner cited as being like the same species. So like Pachycephalosaurus and like Stygimoloch and this Dracorex, shit like that are supposed to be maybe the same dinosaur whose crest or skull shape has changed over its lifetime. So that stuff's
I
interesting.
mean, yeah, like that's the thing is like if there are like dragons, if they're the flying type, wouldn't like they have to have bones a little bit like a bird per se?
Yeah, and I would use an
Polo.
electric type dragon to counteract that.
Yeah, because like,
definitely.
They have metal bones.
Maybe. So, written about 2000 BC, the famous Epic of Gilgamesh records the slaying of the monster Humbaba from Mesopotamia. Humbaba was the terrifying guardian of the cedar forest of Amanus.
Manus.
Okay, Amanus. The powerful Mesopotamian god Enlil placed Humbaba there to kill any human that dared disturb its peace. Humbaba was a giant creature, terrifying to look at. Sometimes he is pictured as a large humanoid shape covered with scale plates. His powerful legs were like that of a lion, but with the talons of a vulture. His head had bull's horns, and his tail was like a serpent. Alternatively, some sources give Humbaba the form of a dragon that could breathe fire. This sounds very similar to me to like the cherubim that was set to guard Eden after the expulsion of Adam and Eve.
Yeah, that angel actually had a name. I forget what his fucking name was, but
Did not in the Bible.
it's not in the Bible. Yeah, it's supposedly, is it from the Enoch book?
I don't
forget.
know. I do not know. So
I
Daniel
need
was
to,
said
like,
to
read the
kill a
book of
dragon
Enoch.
in the apocryphal chapters of the Bible. King Cyrus challenged Daniel's refusal to worship the idol Bel. Daniel revealed to the king a conspiracy on the part of the priests to eat the food offered to Bel, making the god seem real. Not only were the deceptive priests executed, but Daniel was allowed to destroy their idol and a dragon that was being worshipped. In the brief narrative of the dragon, Daniel killed the dragon by baking pitch, fat, and hair to make cakes that caused the dragon to burst open upon consumption. In the Hebrew Midrash version, other ingredients serve the purpose of destroying the dragon. So,
And what, did he give it like the shit so bad it died?
basically, fuck yeah.
Gave it
So
a bad
this
burrito.
reminds me of like in Egypt, they would have like a giant crocodile that they would worship as their crocodile
Sobek.
god.
Yeah,
Well,
Sobek.
Sobek. It was Sobek, yes.
Sobek.
It reminds me of stuff like that. Like a story that conceivably could have been passed down by the Hebrews and then kind of put together with other myths and, scripture or whatever.
And you get like the Egyptians have a lot of reptilian or amphibian like entities.
Well, that was because of their
Sobek.
proximity to the Nile.
Yeah, you have Sobek. You have there's like a female aspect of Sobek. I forget which the name is. And then there's like the frog gods. There's the male and female versions of it.
Was it Sekhmet?
Sekhmet, yeah, I believe so, is the female like aspect of Sobek.
Sekhmet is very popular in like left-hand path schools of thought as the mother goddess.
Yeah, because like Sobek's supposed to be like he's not like he's not like you have like Anubis that's the god of the dead or whatever, but he's like the god of I want to say like getting you to being dead or something. I forget how they worship Sobek, but he's like a violent god because he's a crocodile. I mean,
Hell yeah.
yeah. And then the frog gods are all about chaos and darkness. So like it's interesting.
So after Alexander the Great invaded India, he brought back reports of seeing a great hissing dragon living in a cave. Later Greek rulers supposedly brought dragons alive from Ethiopia, which at the time just meant south of Egypt, essentially.
Yeah, like Sudan and Kenya and yeah.
So from the book
Somalia.
Mythical Monsters from 1886, or is that the source for this? I can't fucking figure out what I'm reading. Some fucking encyclopedia explains that the historical references to dinosaur bones may extend as far back as the 5th century BC. In fact, some scholars think that the Greek historian Herodotus was referring to fossilized dinosaur skeletons in eggs when he described griffins guarding nests in Central Asia. Dragon bones, mentioned in a 3rd century AD text from China, are thought to refer to bones of dinosaurs. It's all very believable, and the griffin's very interesting in that it's another amalgamation of these different traits. Like you get the reptile traits with the bird-like traits. Like you see in dinosaurs, like the modern understanding of dinosaurs today. But then they also add like the lion-like aspect, which for all we know, that might have symbolized like the carnivorous nature of these things, which couldn't really be compared to much else like in the arena of reptiles and birds. Like they just didn't, like you can't use a snake to refer to like how these things would act.
Speaking of Herodotus, you have a lot, and he's probably he's talking about Central Asia. You have the Scythians with the tattoos of dragons and griffins that are very interesting because they describe them like as beaked reptiles with antlers, like a deer.
So ancient explorers and historians like Josephus told of small flying reptiles in ancient Egypt and Arabia and described their predators, the ibis, stopping their invasion into Egypt. So that account is very interesting. Now Josephus was a Jew, and his main work is, what is it? The Antiquities of the Jews is, I believe, what it's called.
Yeah, he was like the Roman Jew historian or something.
Yeah. Yes. Now, so it's not surprising for him to place small flying reptiles in the desert. Essentially, like where Moses was fucking walking around talking about seraphim, these fiery flying serpents.
Yeah, and then you have like supposedly like king snakes. The story about Moses and his staff being able to like transfigure into a snake. It could eat any of like venomous snakes.
Yes, it was a staff with a brazen serpent on it. Now, I believe the story in the Bible is that they had to basically worship this thing that God gave them. And if they did that, it would stop the plague of these fiery flying serpents. It seems almost counterintuitive in the Bible when it's almost like they're worshiping an idol. But then the fiery or the brazen serpent on the staff is supposed to be a reference to Jesus. As a lot of things are interpreted in the Old Testament as the Hebrews showing their faith by doing what God says, and what God says and shows often is a metaphor for Jesus. So that's
that's how the Old Testament is.
The lamb without blemish that they would sacrifice to God, that was Jesus. Jesus was the lamb that was without blemish that was sacrificed for the world. Now the Jews burning a lamb, that doesn't actually like do anything except show their faith in the Messiah to come.
Yeah.
And I think the serpent on the staff was the same thing. I think that like the serpent and the dove are two sides of the same coin in a lot of ways. You must be as wise as serpents, but as guileless as the dove.
Yeah, and then when like in the Orthodox Church, you have like the higher end patriarchs. They'll have on their staffs. They usually have their scepters, whatever you want to call them, that they walk around with. They'll usually have a cross, and then there'll be two serpents or dragons like fleeing from the cross.
Yeah, that sounds like a reference to like European myths of saints. You like it sounds like almost Saint Patrick or something like that. No, I don't know the origins of all of this stuff. So,
Some
but
of it's probably going to be Saint George mythos because he was the original like dragon BTFO.
yeah, and I think all of this is another reference to essentially the Chaos Comp. It seems like that
Yeah.
same story.
Just Christianized, maybe.
Now, I wish I could make more connections between Jesus and the brazen serpent. If you look this stuff up, it's out there. But yeah, so the savior on a stick, essentially. I hate to say it like that, but that's
Yeah.
that's the image that they're worshiping to cure themselves of whatever this plague is. A 3rd century historian, Gaius Solinus, discussed the Arabian flying serpents and stated that the poison is so quick that death follows before pain can be felt. So that, once again, we're having reference to like venomous serpents in these flying serpents, which ties back into the seraphim of the Old Testament and how the fiery could be like the burning of venom, and
Yeah.
like the word for snake was to strike. The
Yeah, it could
well-respected,
be a big snake.
I
A
yeah,
winged snake.
I don't know. I just want to recognize that like most historians today, I think, will say that this was a plague of venomous snakes. So that's like the
What
starting
if,
point.
I just thought of something. What if you had a snake, right? Well, we'll take like the soyance evolution thing for a minute. If you had a snake that was like pressured into developing like folds of skin to fly, would it be like a big enough problem to bite people?
Wait, what? If
If you had a snake, okay. Like let's say you have a jungle, right? Or a desert, whatever, and there's snakes there, and it's hard for them to get food on the ground. Over time, they mutate and develop like a fucking like a gliding squirrel, like some loose skin or some kind of fold of skin where they could catch air. And then if
How would
they could fly, like would that be like a problem? Like would they
would
bite
that be an
people
issue
enough?
if I
how would they
if I
get height to
gave
jump
snakes
off of?
wings? Well,
Yeah.
snakes do climb trees.
Yeah,
And they'll even jump from tree to tree. Like when I say jump, they fucking go off the edge of one tree and land on another tree.
yeah. I've seen course whips do that. We have a snake called a course whip, which is a very thin and long snake. They're not venomous, but their whole tactic of surviving is just to act scary. So if you run from one, he'll chase you. And they can climb trees, they can climb fences, they can climb whatever. But the key to them is just turning around and staying still, and they'll like run away because that's their whole tactic is intimidation.
Their vision is based on movement.
Yeah, and they have no other like defense
true.
mechanism because they have no venom. Their bite is like pretty weak. They have no other defense mechanism other than like intimidation. So they're a weird snake.
Got Maud in the chat. Whoop whoop from Michigan. That's exactly where I expect my whoops to come from. Shithole, Michigan. We got Patrick in the chat. What up, homie? What up?
Michigan's
man?
already like living in Fallout.
Yeah.
Fallout, New Detroit.
Where was I here? Fuck me. The well-respected Greek researcher Herodotus wrote, "There is a place in Arabia, situated very near the city of Buto, to which I went on hearing of some winged serpents. And when I arrived there, I saw bones and spines of serpents in such quantities as it would be impossible to describe. The form of the serpent is like that of a water snake, but he has wings without feathers, and as like as possible to the wings of a bat."
Yeah, that's like what I was talking about.
Yeah. Bat snakes. It do be
Essentially.
pterodactyls, dog. This is a remarkable description of a pterosaur. In his 3rd volume, Herodotus goes on to tell how these animals could sometimes be found in the Arabian spice groves. He describes their size, coloration, and reproduction. Their cloacas? Shit, dude.
They're cloacas.
Fuck,
Take a shot.
homie.
I don't have anything to drink. So I'll fucking take a
Just
hit
got
off
this
this.
$17 bottle of vodka. Tastes like shit. Should have just bought the Sky. It was like $4 more for Sky.
What brand is it?
Pinnacle.
Pinnacle.
Not a
Oh, where's
sponsor.
it from? Oh, is it a shitty U.S. vodka?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's not from Poland. You need to get some Lukasova
Yeah.
luxury potato vodka.
I love that shit. I bought Sobieski when I was
It's
going to the
good too.
gathering,
I
which
love
is fine.
Sobieski.
It's fine. It was the best vodka I could find in a plastic bottle. I needed plastic.
Honestly, the best vodka I've ever had, and it's probably hard to get in the U.S., but it's this Ukrainian brand called Karanovich Ice, and it was the bottle would change blue when you'd freeze it.
Hell yeah.
So I
dude.
could tell you when it was ready to drink or whatever.
Tap the Rockies, motherfucker.
Yeah, and it was like just the smoothest. Like they said, it was a potato and grain vodka, so it was like a split. And it was the smoothest friggin' vodka I ever had. I like drank almost half a bottle of it with my ex in one night, and we were all fucked up from it. It was great, great vodka.
So it seems that venomous flying serpents were infamous for living in frankincense trees. When workers wanted to gather the tree's incense, they had been called the... Wait, what? When workers wanted to gather the tree's incense, they would employ putrid smoke to drive the flying reptiles away. Herodotus has been called the father of history because he was the first historian we know who collected his materials systematically and then tested them for accuracy. John Gortson noted the Egyptian representation of tail veins with flying reptiles and concluded that they must have observed pterosaurs or they would not have known to sketch this leaf-shaped tail.
That kind of goes back to the cedar tail thing.
Does it?
It's like leaf-shaped tail, cedar tail, like vegetation.
Maybe. It seems like a stretch to me, but the little like spade shape on the end of the tail is interesting. Now that's like I would like to know when that sort of thing started popping up in like the image of the devil.
It is interesting, yeah, because I would imagine if it's a flying animal, that thing would be used like a rudder or something to provide drag.
Sure. I have no goddamn idea, but I feel like the motif of that sort of tail is older than like modern dinosaur discoveries from like the early 1900s.
That is true. That's interesting, yeah.
So I would like to know when that sort of thing showed up in art.
I'd imagine around like the Enlightenment period, so like the 1600s.
I have a
onward.
feeling that it's much more recent, but I don't know how to go about this right now. I don't have a goddamn clue. Eat the serpent, imagine the smell, Maud says.
I wonder what they taste like. Like you get one, you smoke it, think the meat would be any good.
I would smoke it all fucking day. It's so goddamn high, it'd be stupid.
Smoking for pterodactyl.
Yeah.
What strain is that?
Among serpents, we find some that are furnished with wings. Herodotus, who saw those serpents, says that they had great resemblance to those which the Greeks and Latins called hydra. Their wings are not composed of feathers like the wings of birds, but rather like those of bats. They love sweet smells and frequent such trees as bear spices. These were the fiery serpents that made so great a destruction in the camp of Israel. The brazen serpent was a figure of the flying serpent Seraph, which Moses fixed upon an erected pole. That there were such is most evident. Herodotus, who had seen of those serpents, says they very much resembled those which the Greeks and Latins called hydra, once again. He went on purpose to the city of Brutus to see those flying animals that had been devoured by the Ibidian birds, the ibis. The ibis.
Ibidian birds, huh?
So what the fuck is an ibis? Those are the long-beaked,
Cranes.
yeah, they
from
look like
Egypt.
cranes, right?
Yeah.
Double check that. Yeah, got a long beak. They are sexy. Okay.
You ever hear about a shoebill crane?
Yeah, that's probably the Jersey Devil or some shit.
Yeah,
Can't
they
discount it.
their beak is so thick, they make this like awful sound with it, and it sounds like someone being clubbed to death. Is how I'd describe the sound. 'Cause it's
That fucking percussive sound that
Yeah.
really large birds make.
yeah.
I've heard that. I was at a friend's house who had emus, and they would always make that shit. It was a fucking weird sound. I don't even know
Oh,
how to.
I almost ended up with emus. My mom wanted them, and we were gonna get them like to have along with our cows. And it turns out though, like my uncle had some, and they were assholes. So when
They
we
are
saw how,
assholes.
shitty they are, yeah, we saw how shitty they are. We were like, no, we don't want them.
I heard stories about my buddy's dad going out there and just like grabbing it by the neck and beating its ass, which I don't approve of, but it sounds like a very, very funny visual.
It's like a modern like caveman versus a fucking dinosaur. It's like the modern version of that.
They do got them dinosaur feet. When you see these large birds, you start to kind of like understand what like a large predatory bird would be like, and then you can kind of start to inch into dinosaur territory with it.
Actually, you got like in South America, you got the tear birds that were like the
Yeah.
apex predators for like thousands of years.
That fucking percussive noise is very interesting because dinosaurs probably did exactly that. That's probably what dinosaurs did. Just way louder. Yeah, weird shit. Back to the book of Genesis, baby. Reliable historical accounts tell of a dragon that was killed in the swamps of what is now Hungary about the year 1035. This fierce reptile had become the scourge of the countryside and was finally destroyed by some brave townspeople. Thereafter, the town became known as Bator, which means brave in Hungarian.
Wished I had a Hungarian like babe near me. Hungarians love Poles, supposedly.
I'll keep that in mind. The Bathory family from the town became a royal family.
Bathory.
Statues near the local Reformed and Catholic churches still commemorate this momentous accomplishment. 3 of the dragon's teeth were kept as mementos of the event. These relics, since lost, were memorialized as the center point of the Bathory seal that is still in use today. So we have another story of a dragon being the origin of like a great house.
Because I thought like Bathories were supposed to be Slovakian, not fucking Hungarian. I don't know.
I have no goddamn idea.
Well, Slovakians are like Slavs, and then Hungarians are kind of their own thing, but even though they're genetically Slavs, basically.
So according to legend, this dragon lived in a large cave under Wawel Hill in the early 8th century. The cave, which is today a popular tourist attraction, is on the banks of the Vistula River in Krakow, Poland.
Krakow. I've been there.
Wawel Cathedral is a 900-year-old Catholic church in the town that still proudly displays in a hanging bundle the large bones which are rumored to have belonged to the local dragon. The oldest known account of the Wawel dragon story comes from the 12th century work by Wincenty Kadlubek. It tells how the lair of this oppressive reptile was located near what was then the capital of Poland. According to Polish folklore, the dragon was finally killed by a poor cobbler's apprentice named Skuba, who cleverly offered the dragon a lamb stuffed with sulfur. Skuba was rewarded with the hand of the king's daughter in marriage because of his act of deliverance.
He's such a Chad.
I love Scuba.
Chad
I'm a big
Pollock.
Scuba fan, dude.
Yeah.
Now, this lamb stuffed with sulfur is very, very similar to the apocryphal Daniel story, where he fucking stuffed the dragon with shit he couldn't digest and he burst open. Now, I don't know what sulfur does exactly, like in the stomach of a living being, but I do know sulfur is kind of a reference to hell, to the devil,
Yeah, and
to
it's
the
a key
burning
ingredient
fire,
in,
brimstone.
And primitive gunpowder. It's a key ingredient. So people knew it was explosive probably since like 800 AD.
This also reminds me of The Hobbit.
Yeah, because they
be
killed
honest.
in that. Yeah.
Smaug. Yep.
Smaug.
Yes. And
You see, there's a German guy that like makes like he remade the fucking 4-limbed crossbow or whatever.
cool.
But he made it even more powerful, and he like shot it through 2 car doors, and it was insane.
Now, dragons are known for, like, you know, in myth, they are known for being intelligent. They usually have the intelligence of man, but they lack all of the qualities that make you human. Like they are nothing but the greed and avarice of man. They are
Isn't
only
that isn't that like what Mod was saying? Is like Islam thinks dragons were like as smart as people, and then they were made like into retarded lizards as a punishment.
I don't know. I would like to get that take. I don't have.
'Cause that's what he was saying last time he was on.
So yeah, there is definitely a theme of degeneration when you're looking at these. When you're looking at the old scriptures and applying that to anything really. Like we were saying, humans were much larger. They lived 900 years. So since then, there has been a theme overall of degeneration, and that applies the same to dinosaurs and dragons that we're talking about now. So I can see all of that. So I want to go back to Jesus. Wise as serpents, meek as doves. So the serpent, the dragon, is all of the, what's the word I'm looking for? All of like the strategic and intelligent human characteristics. But if you don't balance that out, then you just become a monster. I feel like there's part of that in there too, where the dragon represents like all the worst aspects of man.
Yeah, and then you get the Knights of the Dragon, which was a European thing around the time of the Ottoman invasion into Europe. You had Vlad Dracul and a lot of the Romanian boyar nobility, the Bulgarian fighters against the Ottomans, and then there's the Hungarians like John Hunyadi, that were all members of the Order of the Dragon. And I think it expanded into Poland and other areas that were Catholic. I think it was between Catholic and Orthodox Christians.
It's all very reminiscent of what you even see in China, where they proclaim themselves like the ruling family is descended from dragons.
Yeah. That's what Dracula means, is like son of the dragon, which is interesting.
So Charles Gould cites the historian Gesner as saying that in 1543 a kind of dragon appeared near Styria. Styria? I don't know where Styria is. Within the confines of Germany. There you have it, folks. Which had feet like lizards and wings after the fashion of a bat with incurable bite. He refers to a description by Scalinger of a species of serpent 4 feet long and as thick as a man's arm with cartilaginous wings pendant from the sides, so bat wings essentially. Let's go over that again. So it has the incurable bite. It almost seems like a reference to the seraphim of the Old Testament, which
like Venom. Yeah,
that makes sense. Like 1543. So this is essentially around the time that the King James Bible was translated. So it almost seems like a trickling down of like the types of myths that are into the Bible and then assimilation into local legend.
And I think a lot of them have the culture comp thing
Chaos
into,
comp?
or the chaos comp. What is wrong with me? Fuck. Yeah, the chaos comp thing, culture struggle. The chaos comp thing. Like I think that gets brought in from like Indo-European stuff too.
That's what they say the original origin of it is. I start to feel like that's a cope when I realize that all of these things seem to have emerged in every culture independently.
That, and I kind of feel like the reptile worship aspect of it is more of an Egyptian thing. I feel like.
That's another thing, is that Egypt has these same similar myths, but it seems like that would be like concurrent with it coming down from the north. I absolutely leave room for assimilation like that. One culture bringing it to another, like that. There's definitely room for that, but it also seems like it does arrive independently, archetypically within man.
Yeah, because it does. I mean, you do like have the Egyptians were very exposed to like the Indo-European world because of the like trading relationship they had with the Hittites, and then you have the Sea People, which no one even knows who the Sea People were, but that's a whole other episode we could get into.
Well, that's the Atlanteans, right? Like that's the idea.
Well, they say that.
From
like,
who would have originally said that? Who was it?
Egyptians called them the Sea People.
That's I know originally Solon is where these stories came from. Solon was the Greek connection to Egypt who got this story. Who did he give it to? He gave it to Plato. I want to say Plato. He gave it to Plato, right? And that's where you get reference to the Atlanteans as the Sea People.
Because that's the thing, is now they're theorizing that the Sea People may have been a bunch of like Aegean pirates or whatever that formed together and formed like tribes that solely subsisted on raiding for income and food. And then you have the whole Bronze Age collapse happening where there's not enough tin in the Middle East. They're trying desperately to find another source of tin so they can continue making bronze tools, bronze weapons, bronze armor. You know, bronze was fueling the whole industry. Like of these people, they were farming with bronze. They were going to war with bronze. So when it ran out, basically we had a whole collapse. Like people went back to the Stone Age for like 400 years. Like there's written language disappears from the Middle East for like 500 years after this. And it wouldn't be until like the Iron Age begins, that stuff starts to recuperate. And that's because they found a suitable replacement with smelting technology with iron.
Now, I got Jibril in the chat saying that the Sardinians were the sea people. I think
And that's another theory.
that's
Yeah.
interesting. He says they had their own culture called Nuragic. I don't know how to say that. And have still today statues and bronze figures wearing and using weapons as described by the empires they attacked. They even had boats that were almost one-to-one identical in shape to what was carved in stone. So, what carvings are you talking about? And what descriptions are you talking about? Where did these come from? Was this from Plato? Now, I'm not really up on all of this lore. My only question about that was that I think, well, Plato, I believe he uses both Atlantis and the sea people in the same account. Can anybody vouch for that? Is that right?
I need to actually look, but I've heard several things, and I have heard the Sardinian.
Because more importantly than any of that is that he got his account from Solon, who got his account from Egypt. So I would like to see if all of these time frames link up, because I could also see a much older story using accounts from more recent, situations that might have included the Sardinians, and then suddenly you have like these people after the fact being called sea people because they were attacking from the sea.
Yeah. The Sardinians themselves are a very unique people because they are what we have left that's the closest ancestor to ancient Western hunter-gatherers. So you had these people that lived in like Western Europe and Central Europe, and they had kind of like olive tone skin. They kind of look like Meds. Like a lot of your like Med phenotypes come from these people. And the Sardinians are like 97, 98% these people. So it's very interesting that they kind of have an isolated culture because of their island.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I could see them forming the base of like a raiding civilization.
It's very interesting looking at ancient cultures who were like very near to established empires, but because of their location, like in this case, it's almost like another case of island gigantism or something like that, where it's like because of the natural defenses, this culture is allowed to thrive. When if it was on the mainland, it'd be fucked.
Yeah, and they were very good at what they did because like even today they were the people that found out you could eat maggoty cheese. You could that's where I think the pecorino cheese that's infected with maggots. It's like a delicacy in Sardinia. I forget what it's actually called, the cheese itself. But they figured out you could do this because apparently there were times where food was so scarce on the island that they had to do this to survive. Basically, they like all delicacies, it came from like desperation eating.
So we also have mention
of
Brodius, of a winged dragon, which was brought to Francis, the invincible king of the Gauls, by a countryman who had killed it with a mattock. What the hell's a mattock?
I think that's a Celtic spear, like a pole arm. It's got like I might be wrong. I might be talking up my ass here, but it's I might be thinking of a lancia. It might be the same word, but it's a kind of a wavy spear that's purposely made wavy so it can kind of be used like an axe.
Oh, a groundhog cutter.
Yeah, and it's yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah,
I just googled it, and that was the first couple words I saw. But yeah, it basically looks like a fucking ice pick with like a crowbar on the end.
Yeah, let me see. I'm thinking of a lancia. Maybe it's a different thing.
It's like a nasty pick
with a pickaxe.
Yeah.
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 I'm thinking of a lancia. Lancia is the polearm thing. I thought they were the same.
So the dragon was stated to have been seen by many men of approved reputation, which I hope doesn't just mean like cops. I feel like if that was like referring to the modern time, that'd be like a couple cops saw it. Who, though it had migrated from transmarine regions by the assistance of the wind. Who thought it had, with a T missing. The wind just took this dragon. He's like, oh, I guess I'm going over here now.
Dragon.
That's pretty lame, dude. It's like a UFO sighting, like how they'll travel fucking light years, but then they get to the fucking Arizona desert, and like, whoa, whoa, ah, ah! And they just crash. Cardin states that whilst he resided in Paris, he saw 5 winged dragons in the William Museum. These were biped and possessed of wings so slender that it was hardly possible that they could fly with them. Cardin doubted there having been fabrication, since they had been sent in vessels at different times, and yet all presented the same remarkable form. It's almost like a degenerated dragon, one that can no longer fly, but still has the vestiges of its wings or some shit.
Yeah, it's like like with snakes that have like vestigial legs or something.
Yeah. Bologna states that he had seen whole carcasses of winged dragons carefully prepared, which he considered to be of the same kind as those which fly out of Arabia into Egypt. They were thick about the belly, had 2 feet and 2 wings, whole like those of a bat, and had a snake's tail. The Italian historian Aldrovandus also claimed to have received in the year 1551 a true dried Ethiopian dragon, a watercolor of what appears to the left. So there's an image, a watercolor of what appears to the left. This is the Ethiopian dragon. Let's pull this bitch up. Let's do it. There's nothing fucking like Ethiopian about this fucker. This is a European dragon.
Let me see.
Here's that dork. 2 wings. So it has 2 legs. It has 2 front legs. And wings under its armpits. Like this is like classic bestiary nonsense. An impossible creature. But possibly a reference to an actual creature that maybe looked nothing like this.
Or a pterodactyl.
Pterodactyls would have had 2 legs and 2 wings. That is a model that makes sense. But here you see the wings and the legs reversed from what they would be, like conceivable in reality. Now, it's not even inconceivable that back legs could turn into wings. But the thing is, on the dinosaurs that they have, where there are 2 sets of wings, it has front wings too.
Yeah.
Obviously, I said it has 2 sets of wings. 2 sets of wings.
So basically, what they're describing, it's not like a Skyrim dragon. It's more like a Chinese dragon.
No, not really. This is European. This is classic fucking European bestiary. Now
but it doesn't have its wings and its arms are separate, is what it's saying. Chinese
dragons have no limbs, very small limbs, because actually the fingers are very important. How many claws it has are very important. Yeah. They're a symbol of the ruling class, the ruling family of both China and I believe Japan. And one of them, I think it's 3 fingers, and the other it's 5, something like that. But so the Chinese dragon does have small legs, but it does not have wings, and yet it flies.
Because you go back to like the Nephilim lore about like multi-fingered, multi-teethed individuals having Nephilim blood. Because there's a story of the Chinese in Western China of the Sogdians and Bactrians and Tocharians. One of their kings always had to have 6 fingers and 6 toes. And if they didn't have this feature, they would be kicked out and they wouldn't be considered for kingship. And it goes back to like the Nephilim, like that all their kings might have been part Nephilim or something.
That's classic David Icke angle, is that's what the ruling class is. Now he talks about in David Icke's interview with Arizona Wilder, he talks about, or she talks about, who claims to be, Arizona Wilder claimed to be a victim of satanic ritual abuse, and she was a mind-controlled slave for the Illuminati. She says she was in one of their castles, and she saw Prince Charles or whoever, one of these motherfuckers, just transform into a reptilian being. And she says that his name was, and both the names Pindar and Pendragon come up. I forget exactly what the situation is, but they are prevalent in European dragon lore. If you look up Pindar and Pendragon, obviously Pendragon's got association with dragons, but like it's prominent stuff. She also talked about how like underneath the castle they had like little baby reptilians that they just kept as pets.
That's freaking weird. So did that like in the fucking Schneider accounts? I wonder if those like to drink Drano.
Maybe that was in the Nichols account. I want to say
That was a
Preston
Nickel account.
Nichols,
Okay.
who would talk about.
Okay. I
Who
get
would talk about
confused
the.
with him and Snyder because
He
they're
would-
both like fat guys, aren't they?
They are Nichols. I
Yeah.
don't trust at all. I love his stories, but I don't trust him. We talk about how he worked in like a cubicle with a reptilian next to him who would drink Drano and get wasted.
Yeah, and like you'd get real high off the Drano and
Yeah.
like demand more of it. Yeah.
Hell yeah, just like me.
It was like a drug to them or something. Like imagine going to a different planet, right? And like you get there and like what they use for like cleaning their kitchen tables is just like opium or something. And like it's you're a human and you're in like opium table cleaner world.
At
Oh, this
first,
dude really loves our table cleaner. He sure likes to eat it.
dude, get so high and some oxy table
Yeah.
cleaner. OxyClean.
Yeah, OxyClean.
Fuck yeah.
The number one table cleaner of the Palladians. That's what they clean tables with and wherever the Palladians live.
At first glance, one is tempted to agree with Gould that the wings are ridiculously small. But perhaps in transporting from Ethiopia, the wings broke off or disintegrated and thus had to be added from the artist's imagination. So there's the reason why the wings look so fucking stupid.
Because they were
pos-
broken off, yeah.
Sure, whatever, dude. The positioning of the wings and the legs is also wrong, unless the legs are actually the forelimbs, in which case the wings should be incorporated into the limb. And the legs are actually missing. So
So what
it's
you're saying is they fucked the skeleton up, essentially.
this all sounds like a fucking hardcore cope for a goofy looking bestiary drawing.
Or I'm kind of wondering if it's like somebody killed like a hyena or they killed a lion and they kind of made like a chimera taxidermied abomination.
Almost certainly that's been a thing.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I remember reading about like one of the popes wanted a rhinoceros or whatever as a pet. Like they went to Africa and caught one, and this is like the Roman times, like the Christian Roman times, and it died on the way back. So they like poorly taxidermied it, and it looked more like reptilian than it did mammalian after they taxidermied it. So, like everyone thought it was a dragon for a while or something, and it was just like a fucked up taxidermied rhino.
I think everybody's seen the old drawings of like rhinos before they were really known to the West, and they would draw them like with actual like plated fucking armor just growing out of them and shit like that.
It does look like that, like from a distance. Like
Yeah.
I would think it was armored, yeah.
The first century Greek historian Strabo, who traveled and researched extensively throughout the Mediterranean and Near East, wrote a treatise on geography. He explained that in India there are reptiles 2 cubits long, with membranous wings like bats, and that they too fly by night, discharging drops of urine, and also sweat which putrefy the skin of anyone who is not on his guard. Strabo's account may have been based in part on the earlier work of Megasthenes. Fuck yeah. 350 to
Is that
290 BC, baby.
That's a Greek guy then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who traveled to India and states that there are snakes, ophis. So I've heard this
That's
like
interesting, yeah.
the oaf thing. I don't know exactly how that was said, but I'm pretty sure that goes right into like Egypt. Or maybe I think it's a
You know,
Greek
like the
thing. It's
angels
probably
are called,
the
like,
combination of
opening.
no, not biblically. My only knowledge of angels is from the Bible. If they're not in the Bible, I don't know anything about them. But yeah, I know like there's like Ophic traditions. I've heard stories of Ophic traditions, and that's like the mystery schools that are related to serpent worship. So yeah.
And that goes back because you got the flaming serpent angels,
Yeah. The connection to seraphim.
and then you get the cherubim that have like the crocodile face on one side, right? It's a crocodile, a lion, and an eagle, and then a human.
No, it's an ox, an eagle, and
Ox
a human.
and eagle,
I believe.
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so but all that stuff it goes right into like Mesoamerica and Quetzalcoatl and all that shit too. So
Quetzalcoatl was like a sky dragon, right?
maybe Maybe it was. I don't know. The
Did
name.
you do like a Pokemon based off of him?
I don't think so. I had to go over
I
my
think-
Pokemon knowledge. There's too many Pokemon at this point. Quetzalcoatlus. It was in Jurassic World Dominion recently. It's the giant pterodactyl. It's named after Quetzalcoatl. And that's because that name means feathered serpent. So same thing as Kukulkan. Kukulkan means feathered serpent as well.
Because you get like the description of dinosaurs having feathers.
Yeah, and I think there is something very mystical about that, for lack of a better word, that I want to go into soon. I need to do more research for that. But I think there's a reason that dinosaurs are the feathered serpents, that there's a reason for the push in that imagery. And I don't know if it's something that just exists in man's mind, or if it's like an unveiling of some secret teaching, as you see in like predictive programming in the media so often.
Well, it's like that thing. You see the realistic T-Rex recreation where it's got like the feathers and it looks fucking terrifying. And like people were having almost like ancestral reactions to it. Like they were like,
is
I did too.
nonsense. That fucking image, I saw that post.
It
The
looks
reason
gross,
people
like it
have
grosses me
visceral
out.
images or visceral reactions to that image is because they fucking recreate dinosaurs looking like they're totally emaciated and their faces were ripped off, essentially. That's every
Maybe.
fucking recreation looks
Oh,
like that.
God.
That's what the fuck something unnatural looks like. It's the same reason a Wendigo is creepy. It's the exact
Or
same
Gollum, yeah.
reason. This is it's
'Cause
not
close
not
to human, but
creepy.
It's not human. Yeah.
But it's not creepy because it's realistic. It's creepy for the exact opposite reason. That your brain screams like, this is not fucking right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is uncanny. I
Yeah.
just looked
It's
it up.
uncanny. Yeah.
I think that's the reaction
if,
people were having.
Dinosaurs were demonic entities.
I guess. But here's the thing is like, you don't have a visceral reaction from like a lion look. Like if you were face to face with a lion being aggressive, you'd shit your pants. But like an
Yeah.
image of an aggressive lion doesn't evoke that sort of reaction because you are aware enough to know that like lions are more than just a monster. Lions have families. They starve to death. They get a broken paw and they can't fucking live. You know that it's a animal with things that it needs, just like you.
Yeah.
But when you look at something that looks so monstrous as that fucking T-Rex recreation that I don't think I can find right now, when you see that, you can only think monster, and that's part of that uncanny reaction. It's the uncanny valley. There's some relation to it, at least.
And I have heard that like they gave like as a science experiment, they gave like some researchers a hippo skull and didn't tell them what it was, and they wanted them to like do a recreation of it, and it was like all fucked up and wrong. Like none of them looked like a hippo, and like they all were like purposefully scary looking. So yeah,
Now, that's another image I think everybody's seen of like modern animals recreated as if like they were ancient unknown animals, and basically you just slap skin on their fucking skeleton and you call it a day.
and you make it look terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the problem with most recreations of dinosaurs. Now we're at the point with paleo art where everything looks so fucking stupid. You can't take it serious just because it looks like it's cartoonish. It's nonsense.
You get like the brontosauruses with the big ball sack air bladder.
Yeah. Just craziness. And that's why we're exploring this, like the distinction between dinosaur and dragon, because like I think, okay, I get people's criticisms of dinosaur and like saying like dinosaurs aren't real. I get all that because it's almost like NASA now, where everything I'm assuming is fucking doctored and fake and complete nonsense.
Just
So
to
it's-
get funding. Yeah.
At this point,
Listen,
the word dinosaur is so broad it's meaningless, whereas the word dragon is totally stagnant. It can't move. So what the fuck is reality? I don't know. Flame?
well, I was about to say, like, what if we were just seeing dinosaurs, calling them dragons?
Well, I think that's what we're exploring.
Or vice versa. What if what we're
Yeah.
calling dinosaurs is dragons?
Yeah, like the whole dinosaur phenomenon could be a push by the atheist.
That's a
Well, I think part of
That's
that
a good
is that like part, like, we see that all the time in making science so fucking stupid that it's just like,
yeah.
it's so
Cringe.
clearly just an agenda.
Yep.
It's just a mockery, and it's almost like a fucking humiliation
Humiliation
ritual,
ritual.
where
Yeah.
it's like, look how stupid you are. You actually believe this. Like, we can make it as dumb as possible. You'll always believe it.
And you got like, yeah, that's the thing though. Like you got people now, like you have all these fucking electrical cars that they're pushing, and they're like telling you it's like the greatest thing for the fucking environment ever. And what they're not telling you is it costs like 15 tons of coal to like charge like 5 or 6 of them. So like they're just burning more fucking coal, which just goes into the air. Or like the electricity you need to charge your electric car. What it is, the government wants everyone having electric cars because then you're dependent on a grid to charge them. And that way you're dependent on anywhere you go. Basically, you have to be approved to go anywhere.
This is the sort of shit. If your social credit score is too low, you just won't be able
just
to
cut your
fill
car
up.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can't charge your car.
If they don't just
You're so-
fucking drive you into a fucking oak tree.
Yeah. They don't. It's like if you had like one of those survivalist fucking tanks and like a pickup or something, you could literally drive like 800 miles or something on a tank of gas. If you had like the gas tank that extends into the bed. So like that's super efficient for like what you get out of it, where versus like having to stop 300 miles and charge.
Griffin Stoner in the chat says the earliest discussions of dinosaurs sometimes portrayed them as literally demonic. In one book, an early scientist portrays dinosaurs as existing in a lightless hell world before Adam. Can we just apply that to Bigfoot?
Yeah, you get like, and you get also the bullshit like of them guessing what animals look like by like 2 pieces of bone fragment.
Yeah, that's another thing.
You get the Gigantopithecus.
They take like tiny fucking bone fragments, and then like they do a logical thing. They take one logical step, which is like compare it to the other things that have similar features. And it's like, okay, you can kind of imagine at that point, but like then they'll take it 10 steps too far, and to a point where it's just, okay, this is just like content for like a new fucking Discovery Channel show about nothing, is how I feel when I look at a lot of this shit.
Like you heard, like for a while, Gigantopithecus was described as like being a giant gorilla, and then they changed it to an orangutan.
Yeah, I recall that too. I feel the same way about that. Yeah, the fact
and then
is,
now they're saying it like lived like a fucking panda, and it just ate like bamboo.
yeah, which makes sense, I guess. It's
Then
fine.
like, why was it so big? Because like pandas, their metabolism is shit from like only eating bamboo, so they can't get very big compared to like brown bears.
Pandas are pretty big, aren't they? How big are
I
they?
think they're like 400 or 500 pounds. They're like the size of black bears, so they're not super huge or anything.
Yeah, I don't have the answers to any of that
Gigantopithecus was
shit.
supposed to be like he was supposed to be like 12 foot tall and like a 1,200 pound ape or something like that.
Anywho,
Like he had to eat a shitload of bamboo to like even live, because like an animal that big, the calories it would have to consume.
yeah. So the first, did I read this already? I did. Piss and shit. I read that. Yep. The Chinese have many stories of dragons. Their traditional New Year's celebration has its roots in a story about a monster called Nian, a nocturnal beast that was half dragon and half lion. The Nian would attack ancient villages and could only be driven off with loud noises like fireworks and bright red decorations. So that is very Chinese. Books even tell of Chinese families raising dragons to use their blood for medicines and highly prizing their eggs. To the right is a picture of a fossilized Chinese dinosaur egg compared to a chicken egg. So let's pull that up, even though who cares about this? Who gives a crap? Do you give a crap about this egg? Would you eat this egg?
It's an egg.
Dude,
The
It's an
Chinese
egg.
probably thought it was like 1,000-year-old egg or a century egg, whatever they call it.
They ate it at the gathering.
Yeah, they ate it at the gathering.
Yep, that's an egg. So I guess they were eating that egg. I'm a little jealous, honestly. So books even tell of Chinese families. Did that already. Marco Polo wrote of his travels to the province of Karajan and reported on huge serpents, which at the forepart have 2 short legs, each with 3 claws. The jaws are wide enough to swallow a man, the teeth are large and sharp, and their whole appearance is so formidable that neither man nor any kind of animal can approach them without terror. Marco Polo goes on to describe how the local citizens of the area hunted and killed these creatures. He noted that the reptiles were nocturnal, assisted by eyes larger than a loaf, dwelling in caverns during the day to avoid the heat. After they had killed their prey, Polo wrote that they would find a water source such as a lake, spring, or river. Their massive bodies left deep impressions in the paths, as if heavy beams had been drawn along the sands. Since the creatures predictably followed these same rutted paths, the natives buried large wooden stakes tipped with sharp iron spikes, which they cover with sand.
You know what's
Apparently,
interesting about that? It's
So-
almost got the same like it's not. I know it's like an insectivore or a mollusk, but you know the Mongolian death worm and how it like leaves ravines and shit.
Sure.
Yeah, trails.
Yeah, and it's like in China's like right near Mongolia.
Yeah. So this said that they had 2 short forelegs. No mention of hind legs, no mention of wings.
Yeah, like a worm or a snake.
Yeah.
It's like the Mongolian death worm is also supposed to be able to spit venom like a cobra.
So apparently the spikes so severely wounded the creature that they died soon thereafter. 2-legged dragons are portrayed in ancient Chinese art like the white carved jade dragon that is part of the Genesis Park collection. They are also known from other cultures. Some of the Chinese dragon art is remarkably like dinosaurs, though often the dragons display an unrealistic narrow trunk, more serpent-like, which could be like emaciated creatures. So yeah, here's accounts of more realistic dragons. They're not the cat-faced serpentine flying dragons. And they are more akin to the 2-legged dragon I showed earlier. So it is interesting that the 12 signs of the Chinese zodiac are all animals, 11 of which are still alive today. But is the 12th, the dragon, merely a legend, or is it based on a real animal, the dinosaur? It doesn't seem logical that the ancient Chinese, when constructing their zodiac, would include one mythical animal with 11 real animals. The interpretation of dinosaurs as dragons goes back more than 2,000 years in Chinese culture. They were regarded as sacred, as a symbol of power. Shown to the top left is a dragon that was cast in red gold and embossed during the Tang Dynasty. All right, let's pull that boy up. Give me that boy, Jamie. Give me that boy. Shit.
So who would win between like one of these Chinese dragons and like a Skyrim dragon?
Definitely
Skyrim
China.
dragon.
Nah, the
China
Chinese
spit venom.
the Chinese dragons would outnumber them.
I think in a 1v1 though.
Yeah.
Depends on what kind of Skyrim dragon. If it's the elder dragon,
Hate those fuckers.
Chinese dragons come off as pussies.
just never start the main
The
quest
dragon
line,
one.
dude. Fucking Skyrim dragons are so gay. You fought one, you fought them all.
and I hate like how they'll run from you and they won't like finish the fight. Like
Or
when they're like at half
they'll
health.
get distracted by a mud crab. It's so fucking stupid.
Or a deer, yeah, or a bear or something. They'll go fight it.
So this shit about the Chinese zodiac and the dragon being the one mythical creature on it reminds me of what they say about Bigfoot. Why would the Native Americans put all these animals on their totem pole? Why is there an eagle and a deer and this and that? They're all real animals. And then there's Bigfoot. What the fuck is Bigfoot doing there? Why would they put a fake animal on their totem pole?
Because Bigfoot
Bigfoot be
is
real,
a
dog.
wild man. He's like the wild feral human. Like you got feral hogs, and hogs, and when they get in the wild, they go through like morphological changes.
It's
So
true.
what happens if you take a human, put them in the wild, they learn like to go back to like an animalistic state of survival. They grow an extra few feet and get really bulky and hairy, and you got your big feet.
Disgusting.
Like it corroborates with like the Dennis Martin story of the wild man or like savage man that grabbed him. If you hear about that, like how it was described as like
Is that a missing
hairy...
411 case?
Yeah, the Dennis Martin case, like the Smoky Mountain.
Mm.
They were like described that whoever grabbed him as like a wild, hairy man.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Notice the long neck and tail, the frills, the lithe stance of the dragon that I put on screen. What is this one? It wants me to keep pulling up shitty dragon art. The other one, this one just looks like a fucking dragon. You get it. It's a dragon. Shown above in the middle is a ferocious Ming Dynasty dragon statue that is part of the Barakat Gallery collection. China's oldest known dragon depiction is a curious discovery found at the ancient Zishuipo cemetery ruins along the Yellow River in Henan province. There, 3 artistic dragons, along with tigers and other animals composed entirely of white shells, were placed alongside human remains. No doubt this indicates a burial place of some very important ruler from the beginnings of the Chinese culture. The Zishuipo site dates back several thousand years, yet the dragons shown are surprisingly like modern renditions. This shows the dragon concept did not slowly develop through Chinese history from a simplistic primitive mythological figure. This would make sense if they were, in fact, modeled after living creatures. It's all just fucking dragon nonsense, to be honest. This is just a dragon. I'll show it on screen. This is kind of interesting.
Dragging around.
This is a Chinese dragon. It very much is the body shape that you would associate with a Chinese dragon. Maybe the legs are a little more prominent or whatever.
So it's very long and serpent-like.
It is. It is.
But you know, that goes back to like the leviathan and like the fucking like Ouroboros dragon.
Yeah.
That's like long and serpentine and it like wraps around the world and it eats its own tail, so it has no beginning and no end.
The book Zuozhuan tells the narrative of how the ancients raised the dragons and how the state used the services of 2 clans known as the Dragon Rearers and the Dragon Tamers. Historical records tell of a Song dynasty emperor who raised the dragons within his palace compound. Huangdi, the mythic Yellow Emperor, was said to make sacrifices at the summit of Taishan after driving there in a chariot harnessed to 6 dragons. Ming Dynasty Chinese landscape painter Wu Bin served for a time as the emperor's secretary. Among his paintings is a piece entitled 18 Arhats, color hand scroll showing Chinese dragons pulling carts. But the mythical quality to Wu Bin's work suggests that dragons had become extinct by his time, hundreds of years after the Song dynasty. So his time would have been 1573 to 1620.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's about the time that dragons would have become so rare that they were functionally extinct.
That's interesting too, because that's right at the start of like the Renaissance and like the Enlightenment period where everyone gets into science real big and this age of like mysticism, like the world is slowly closing up. Like this idea of like there's places where human or European eyes haven't been is slowly going away. Like you start creeping towards the whole earth is mapped out at this point. And like it wouldn't be until like the 50s where it'd be totally mapped out. You know, you got the expeditions like the Franklin expedition where they were trying to find like the last part of the map essentially. And yeah, like at this time the mysteries of the world stop growing, and like you got this idea that we know about everything. And I guess you could say mankind gets a little arrogant after this point. We start assuming we have all the answers and don't need any. Yeah.
But it's almost like belief played a part in all of these things.
Yes, and when the belief stopped, these things just stopped having the power to exist, maybe, perhaps.
I don't know.
You know, you get the theory that like ideas are are the only things that really exist, and like they manifest things to carry them out or something. You get like this weird like Gnostic idea, really. What the fuck is this?
Not a sponsor.
Yuri.
Gummies.
I can't.
I don't fucking know. Because
Yuri.
we eat fucking edibles. We got in there. Butter
Oh, I
on
got
Poop
like
Tart in
that.
the chat says, "Hey, I had a question. Could you go after this guy called Timothy Jones?"
Timothy Jones. He's Timothy Jones. I've heard that name before.
I googled it real quick, and I see Timothy Jones Jr. is an American murderer who killed his 5 children. Is that the guy?
Oh, was it that weirdo that like fucking killed his family and then like bailed and like it was for no reason?
Oh man, chat, can you hear me enjoying this edible? It's a gummy worm.
This edibles I have taste like ass, but they're like very cheap.
Mine are
and
great.
they do get you there.
Homeless guy on YouTube, Butter on Poop Tart says, send me a link,
What?
drop a
What is it?
link.
Yeah.
Can you drop it in chat? I'll allow
We
you
need
to.
a new
If
schizo.
not, send it to me somehow. You can email me. My email's in the description. Yeah.
Oh, I got a good schizo story. Speaking of schizos, like in like the hobo population, my town is exploding.
You're
there's like this
blowing them
little-
up
there's
one
like this-
hobo at a time.
There's like this one little intersection where you have to stop or whatever. There was this fucking, I guess, crack whore there, and she's like offering her services, and she had a fucking heart drawn on a stop sign, and like pointing at her, and I was like fucking laughing so hard, like it was just funny to me. I don't know why. I'm like, holy shit! There's actual lot lizards just blatantly around now. I'm like, holy shit, what is going on with my town? And I was like, and like the schizo stuff's getting worse because like supposedly someone went into a local Taco Bell in my town and like asked for like the Mexican pizzas or whatever. You know, they're like a popular thing, and like apparently they were out. They like just took a shit on the counter and started smearing it everywhere. I'm not joking. Yeah,
They
it was
put
like
it
a
all in-
homeless person
Put it all in a bag and use it for meat
Yeah.
later.
because they didn't have Mexican pizza. Uh,
During the medieval period, the Scandinavians described swimming dragons, and the Vikings placed dragons on the front of their ships to scare off the sea monsters. Yeah, a missionary to Greenland, Hans Egede.
That's a German name, or is that if he's from Greenland, he's Danish.
I have no idea. He was known as a meticulous recorder of the natural world. Numerous such stories have been recorded from the age of sailing ships, when sailors plied the seas much more quietly than in today's large motorized crafts. The oldest reliable sea serpent record we have was set down by Olaus Magnus in his book Historia de Gentibus. The story describes a Catholic priest who was exiled from his Swedish homeland and saw a sea monster of astonishing size, about 23 meters or 75 feet long, that was sighted in 1522 near an island named Mu. Magnus' credibility is attested by most famous work in the 1539 book Carta Marina, which presented the most accurate map of Scandinavia or any other European region in existence at the time. A series of drawings on the map present various monsters of the sea. The most notorious of these is a creature named the sea orm, but best known as a Laius sea serpent. It was colored bright red despite being described as black. The drawing shows it coiled around a Norman ship and devouring a crew member who was unlucky enough to get close to its gaping maw. Just a sea serpent. Now, it's not surprising that if there were dragons in the sea, they would survive longer than the ones on land.
Yeah, because you also have like the Loch Ness monster. Like,
Sure. And even now, you have stories. Well, what you have is people saying that man has totally misjudged the life cycles of a lot of sea creatures. So there was a time when you would see much bigger things in the ocean, but now because of like commercial fishing and all of that, things don't get as large. So we just don't see it anymore. And then there's the, talk about like motorized boats, like keeping things away.
that is interesting because you hear about like dugongs and manatees will avoid boats because like they know boat motors will fucking end them.
Yeah.
So they instinctively get away from boats. Well, if like these things got hit by propellers all the time, they would learn to like generationally avoid boats.
The familiar legend of St. George slaying a dragon is prolific throughout European art and history. Likely, it has some basis in fact. St. George is the patron saint of England, though the actual story was brought from the east by crusaders. Indeed, the dragon pictured to the right is the dinosaur Baryonyx, whose skeleton has been found throughout Europe. Let's pull up. This is a fucking awesome picture. This is like classic creationist artwork, but it's just like the juxtaposition of just two completely different styles here. You have St. George spearing the shit out of this fucking Baryonyx piece of crap. And I guess what could be said to be like a smaller, more sickly dinosaur. You're not seeing the giant dinosaurs. They're just big fucking lizards that basically just take a spear and they're done.
Yeah. Like, so like you were saying, you get the sea serpents or whatever avoiding boats. Well, like, what if the boats, because they're metal now, you know, around this time, like I guess the late 1800s, you'd start to get like metal hulled ships. What if like they simply can't sink those, so they just don't bother?
Sure, whatever, dude. They're just lazy. I get
Well,
that.
like they would have to use more energy because metal has more buoyant properties, especially if it's a big hollow cavity. Because what's going to have to happen is, in order for a ship to sink that has like no holes in it, it has to have more pressure on the water than the amount of water it displaces weighs. So it would take a lot of energy if you have like a big ship full of air to like yank it down.
Sure. I don't know anything about sea monsters or buoyancy, but sure.
I just know all this because I have a big ass like boat I inherited that's meant for deep sea fishing, and I have like no use for it because I can't pull it because I don't trust myself pulling a trailer, so it just sits around. But yeah, I wished I had a use for it because like I would love to like fucking go out in the ocean, but
Famous in the annals of British literature is the poem of Beowulf, a heroic Norse warrior who killed a group of dragons. In the end, he died in the process of vanquishing a winged dragon. Dragons are even described in reputable zoological treatises published during the Middle Ages. For example, the great Swiss naturalist and medical doctor Conrad Gessner published a 4-volume encyclopedia from 1516 to 1565 entitled Historia Animalium. He mentioned dragons as very rare but still living creatures. The story is told of a 10th century Irishman who encountered a large clawed beast having iron on its tail which pointed backwards. It had a head similar to a horse. It also had thick legs and strong claws. Could this have been a surviving Stegosaurus?
speaking of that, there's a temple. I want to say it's in Indonesia because it was built by, I want to say, Indian Buddhist, or not Buddhist. They might have been Buddhist. They might have been Hindu, but they were from India originally. And like one of the motifs outside the temple, like perfectly depicts a Stegosaurus. And this is like from a pre-time. This is
I showed that image last week on the Angkor Wat.
Yeah.
So the head similar to a horse is interesting here because it brings up images of like the Loch Ness monster or even like the Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
Now, this is referenced from the Great Dinosaur Mystery Solved from 1999, which was written by Ken Ham. Ken Ham is like the most prolific creationist. So you have to take some of the stuff with a grain of salt.
Isn't he that weird looking guy that like built the ark that's like not right because it floods and has other problems?
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Yeah, like he's the big like evangelical Protestant guy.
Yep.
And see, that's the thing. I think that's slightly blasphemous, right? Like as like someone that's like studied a lot of Orthodox stuff. I call myself an Orthodox Christian, but I can't like attend church services all the time because there's not one in my area. But I would kind of view that as like blasphemy because he's trying to recreate like a biblical miracle, perhaps, right?
Well,
like
my counter to that would be the exact dimensions of that thing are in the Bible. So
they might be.
If
I agree.
If you're convinced of what a cubit is, then I don't see it as blasphemous, and I would be willing to bet, and I could be wrong, that what he would actually say about it is that these are the proper dimensions, but obviously this isn't a functional boat, so it's like this isn't exactly right. Like that's probably his defense, is that like this thing was never meant to actually go in the ocean. So yeah, it's gonna be a piece of shit when it gets
I
wet.
mean, I kind of think, my thing with that is, I think like a lot of how it was built had to do with like God essentially, and how like they could fit all the animals in was basically, it's more supernatural than it is like, oh, they just built it this size. Well, I mean, like I'm saying it could be bigger on the inside because of the mysticism aspect than it actually was.
Maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's any better of an argument, certainly,
I
because
don't know.
my
just my take.
perspective is always to use the Bible. So if it's a tough thing, because like, yeah, I can define a cubit. Can I define a cubit from? I don't even know if I can define a cubit, but like,
Yeah.
what they'll say is that it is the length from your elbow to the end of your finger. That's different.
But everyone's
on
like
everybody.
different size. So like
But-
I'm a woman, that's way different than a man.
You can. I don't know. I don't think it's blasphemous, and I would have to hear him say that this is exactly what the ark looked like. I don't think that's what he would say.
I guess,
He would
yeah,
probably
I
say
guess
that the
I'd say,
proportions are all right and that the size is in the ballpark. And if you really believe that you nailed what a cubit is, then I don't think you're being blasphemous. You're just being silly, and you're building an amusement park, which is what he did.
For boomers, basically, yeah.
Whatever. It's very Protestant. What can I say?
Protestant boomers, yep.
So
Hear about Joel Osteen, like having all the fucking like money in the bathroom? That was a weird story.
I don't know. I'm sure he's getting
Like,
paid.
was somebody was like dealing crack in the bathroom? It's like someone's like putting money up in like the ceiling tiles, like you would do a drug deal or something.
That's weird. Yeah, who knows? It's possible. So Ulysses Aldrovandus is considered by many to be the father of modern natural history. He traveled extensively, collected thousands of animals and plants, and created the first ever natural history museum. His impressive collections are still on display at Bologna. Do I say Bologna? Bologna? How the fuck am I supposed to? Bologna don't sound right.
It's
It's spelled
Bologna.
Bologna.
Bologna. Is it a city in Italy?
Yeah, probably.
It's Bologna, I believe is how it's pronounced.
His impressive collections are still on display at Bologna University, the world's oldest university, where they attest to his scholarship. His credentials give credence to an incident that Aldrovandus personally reported concerning a dragon. The dragon was first seen on May 13th, 1572, hissing like a snake. It had been hiding on the small estate of Master Petronius. At 5 p.m., the dragon was caught on a public roadway by a herdsman named Baptista. He gave the dragon a Baptista bomb, dude. It was down for the 3. It was near the hedge of a private farm, a mile from the remote city outskirts of Bologna. Baptista was following his ox cart home when he noticed the oxen suddenly came to a stop. He kicked them and shouted at them, but they refused to move and went down on their knees rather than move forward. At this point, the herdsman noticed a hissing sound and was startled to see the strange little dragon ahead of him. Trembling, he struck it on the head with his rod and killed it. This is the story of, I want to say, Balaam. What is this in the Bible? Let me figure this out. This is a Bible story repurposed with a dragon.
Yeah, I remember reading something like that.
I got it. I'll get this. Balaam's donkey. Let me read this real quick. Let's pull up. What version do I want? Give me the ASV.
Wasn't Balaam a wizard? Yeah, he was a wizard and he had that donkey, and then like the angel was blocking the road.
Yeah. So
I remember right.
let's just read this. Nothing wrong with reading the Bible. And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass. He saddled his ass. And went
Saddled
with
that
the princes of Moab. And God's anger was kindled because he went. And the angel of Jehovah placed himself in the way for an adversary against him. This is why I love different translations of the Bible. It's very interesting here. Now, Jehovah being used in the Bible, this would normally be Lord if this was a King James. It would say Lord. This is the tetragrammaton of YHWH, God's name. It's anglicized here as Jehovah.
Yeah.
Has placed himself in the way for an adversary against him. Adversary, I would bet money, and I could look this up now. I would bet that word adversary is Satan.
I
That's
bet
what
so too,
Satan
yeah.
means in Hebrew. Let me
Hebrew,
switch to
yeah.
a King James and see what happens. Okay. It says God's anger was kindled because he went, and the angel of the Lord, that's where Jehovah was, Lord, stood in the way for an adversary against him. How can I pull up a version that would tell me? Do I have to pull up my my concordance? Where is my concordance? Where is my Bible concordance? I gotta find it. Can you just talk for a second?
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's the thing though with biblical narratives is that was the guy. I believe the angel was blocking the road and it had like a fiery sword, or the angel was on fire. It might have been one of the fire angels. I forget their name off the top of my head, but essentially the donkey could see it, but Balaam could not, and the donkey refused to like fucking budge. And Balaam was he's like a Babylonian wizard, I want to say. I might be wrong. I might be talking out my ass. Don't know. But he was I want to say a Babylonian wizard. He was trying to go somewhere, and God really didn't want him there, so he sent one of the angels to basically delay him. And he kept beating the donkey, and like he beat the donkey senseless. And I think like God finally had enough of him like beating the donkey. So I believe the angel actually took possession of the donkey briefly.
Are you
and told him,
reading the Bible? Read the Bible.
No, I'm
Start
talking.
the
I'm
Bible.
talking. This is all based on memory.
Ah, memory, dude. You know what God says about memory, don't you? Me either, but I'm just
I remember the
assuming.
donkey like telling him to stop beating him, and like Balaam then like freaked the fuck out, or supposedly something like that, and stopped.
I believe the angel of God became visible to him and told him to stop.
Yes,
We'll
that
see
might have
this
been
right
it.
here.
Yes.
But there's something very interesting that I want to make sure that I highlight here if I'm correct. Fuck it, we're doing this live. I'm looking for adversary in my concordance. We're looking for the word adversary. Admonition. We getting there, dog. Advanced adversary. Okay, so now where am I? Numbers 22:21 and yes, 22:22. Number is 7854. We fucking flipped to the back of the goddamn concordance. We had that Hebrew section. What was that? 7854. Very, very poor memory I have.
Yeah, I have a shit memory too, so that's why I'm saying I could be talking on my ass, but I remember that's vaguely what I
We're gonna
remember.
go over the entire story, but there's something very. This is why I recommend using a King James version in conjunction with a concordance here.
I have a King James, and that's from when I was baptized. Well, I've only been baptized once, but I've never taken communion in a Protestant church. I've only taken communion in Orthodox churches several times. But
I'm a
I was
retard and I forgot
baptized.
the number already. 78 something. Hold on, chat. I'm fucking brain dead.
Retard moment.
I'm close though.
Yeah.
I'm close to figuring out this mystery of which you have no idea what it is, or even if I'm correct, then it might be.
And you know what
nothing.
sucks? You know what like really fucking sucks? The price of seltzer. I love to drink seltzer because it's like it scratches the soda itch without like making me more fat.
This dude over here talking about fucking seltzer.
It's a real problem.
And now they're like they used to
Okay.
be. You could go to Kroger's. You could get you a fucking like 12-pack of their no name brand seltzer, and it was like $2.50. And you get you several of them, and then you get home and drink the fuck out of them like water.
All right, we got
I
this.
love doing that. And now they're up to like almost $5 a fucking 12-pack, and it's like insane.
Yeah, it's just
So
Shit.
the word for adversary in that sentence, it is now notice the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. It is the word Satan in Hebrew, which means now adversary is what it means. Persecutor is what it means. Now I look in a concordance and I question everything because it straight up just says the arch enemy of good. But this is the angel of the Lord being Satan in the Bible. Right? I think that's a very
Yeah,
weird thing.
yeah.
It can't be the enemy of good. When it says adversary, it's not always the adversary of good. It is what's standing in your way. It's what's
Yeah.
making your doings more difficult.
Existence difficult.
A
Yeah,
lot of
your
things can
existence.
be Satan. We see this in, I believe, the book of Job. I think Job's friends are referenced as Satan at one point, as adversaries. And it's because they stand in the way of him worshiping his God properly. So, like,
Huh.
family and friends can be Satan, church can be Satan, governments can be Satan, they can all be Satan.
Oh, I think governments are a lot more than figuratively Satan now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is I think we're in the Antichrist system. I think is where we're
Yeah.
at. So you can always see the shit in reality, and just because like the rulers are evil doesn't mean it isn't ordained by God. Just
Yeah, I
means
mean,
you
it's,
have to pay the
everything's a
price.
test. That's the thing, is everything's a test.
All right, so let's go on with
It's
this story real quick. There's a reason I fucking pulled up Numbers 22, 21 through 39, and it wasn't just so I could dick around in my fucking library. So, let's go. I want to go back to that ASV. American Standard Version. I just like reading it. Now, he was riding upon his ass, and his 2 servants were with him. And the ass saw the angel of Jehovah standing in the way, with his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way, and went into the field, and Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way. Then the angel of Jehovah stood in a narrow path between the vineyards, a wall being on the side and a wall on that side. And the ass saw the angel of Jehovah, and she thrust herself unto the wall, and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall, and he smote her again. And the angel of Jehovah went further, and stood in a narrow place, where was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And the ass saw the angel of Jehovah, and she lay down under Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and he smote the ass with his staff. And Jehovah opened the mouth of the ass, you were right. And she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, Because thou hast mocked me, I would there were a sword in my hand, for now I had killed thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden all thy life long unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. Then Jehovah opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of Jehovah standing in the way, with his sword drawn in his hand. And he bowed his head, and fell on his face. And the angel of Jehovah said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass these 3 times? Behold, I am come forth for an adversary, because thy way is perverse before me. And the ass saw me, and turned aside before me these 3 times. Unless she had turned aside from me, surely now I had even slain thee, and saved her alive. And Balaam said unto the angel of Jehovah, I have sinned, for I knew not that thou stoodest in the way against me. Now therefore, if it displease thee, I will get me back again. And the angel of Jehovah said unto Balaam, Go with the men, but only the word that I shall speak unto thee, that thou shalt speak. So Balaam went with his princes of Balak. So it's a story of an angel appearing before someone to kind of have like a message for them. What's interesting to me about all of this is there's only one archangel in the Bible, and that is Michael.
Yeah.
Now this too, it seems like the same angel. The angel of the Lord seems to place him as at a higher stature than other angels. Seemingly.
And aren't archangels supposedly supposed to be the more humanoid-looking angels? One of the more.
Biblically speaking, I don't think.
Cherubim.
No, absolutely not. Cherubim are all fucked up looking.
Yeah, they
I
have
don't-
the face.
I'm wondering if Gabriel or Michael's appearance. I'm not sure if it's ever expounded on. I'm not totally sure. Now, Gabriel is never called an archangel in the Bible. Only Michael is.
Yes.
So it seems like this is the same identification. I've heard people say that like the archangel is Jesus pre-human form.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I've never
it is.
thought.
So
Yeah.
it is saying that first of all, angel is a very nondescript term. It literally just means messenger. It's
Okay, like,
not described
yeah.
any more in depth than that in the Bible.
With
All the
Satan,
angels
you
are
know.
in the Bible. The biblical angels are such totally drastically different beings.
Oh, by Satan, I mean Lucifer. But like Lucifer, what kind of angel was he before he got like demoted and
Lucifer is
tricked
called a cherubim. I don't
Okay,
think
so
that reference to Lucifer is to an angel in the Bible. I don't really buy that because in the Bible it seems he's specifically called a king of Babylon, and
Yeah.
in the time frame, this would have been like not long after the what's it called, the captivity in Babylon. So I do think he's talking about he's actually talking about Nebuchadnezzar. I do believe in that verse in Isaiah 14.
Wasn't Nebuchadnezzar supposed to be like a Nephilim adjacent? Like he's
Nah,
that bloodline?
Nebuchadnezzar, not really. You can't really make that argument from, like I said, from the canonical Bible. That's all I'm
'Cause
talking
he's
about
like the king of the. He's like the king of the. He called himself king of the universe, right?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people said
Yeah.
that shit. But what I will say is that Nebuchadnezzar certainly had Sumerian ties because the Babylonian kingdom absolutely did. They were
Yeah.
using almost the same pantheon.
You get like the Tower of Babel story, you know, with the
Yeah.
why everyone speaks different language family groups and why God did that to punish Babylon originally.
Yeah. Now, Bab means gate in a lot of these languages. Babel is the gate of God. Babylon is definitely a reference to gates. Now, we know that Babylon was known for actual physical gates that were like beautiful in ancient times. So
Yeah.
it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. Was this gate symbolic of the gate to God that the name was actually based on, or did they name the city after gates that were there? I don't know.
Because you got like the whole thing with Babylon. It was supposed to be a very degenerate culture with like all the veneration of Ishtar.
It was
She was
one
yeah.
of the seats of the Antichrist, the same
Yeah.
seat that the United States holds today.
It's like Ishtar was like the prostitute goddess, where
Maybe.
based kind of in a lot
That
of
seems
ways.
like a very ham-fisted version of the events, because there's a lot of you have fertility goddesses, but is that like degenerate or like, you know what I
'cause it
mean?
was
It's
supposedly like
fertility.
an
It's-
Iranian, Indo-European version of Ishtar too. So I've heard.
We got K Martin in
forget-
the chat. Is this a spin-off of that one podcast I used to listen to, Skinwalker Tapes? This is the succession of Skinwalker Tapes after they fucking got nuked by the
After the
SPLC.
after the incident.
What's up, boys? We're back together. You, me, the old Skinwalker Tapes fucking listeners, we all fucking
I'm
gang
new,
here,
though.
dude. It's true.
I'm like the last
So-
fucking year.
The reason I was talking about that Balaam story. What the fuck? Let's try to get back on point here. Where was this fucking story I was reading about? About fucking Deacon Baptista. So, here we go. At 5 p.m., the dragon was caught in a public roadway by a herdsman named Baptista, near the hedge of a private farm, a mile from the remote city outskirts of Bologna. Baptista was following his ox cart home when he noticed the oxen suddenly come to a stop. He kicked them and shouted at them, but they refused to move and went down to their knees rather than move forward. So here it almost sounds like it's the angel of the Lord all over again, where the beast of burden basically worships. That's what they do. They stop and worship this thing. So at this point, the herdsman noticed a hissing sound and was startled to see this strange little dragon ahead of him. Trembling, he struck it on the head with his rod and killed it. So that's like an inversion of it. So where in the biblical story, it was an agent of God standing there, this is like an agent of Satan, because it's a dragon. So Aldrovandus surmised that the dragon was a juvenile, judging by the incompletely developed claws and teeth. The corpse had only 2 feet and moved both by slithering like a snake and using its feet, he believed. There are small 2-legged lizards that do this to this day.
Yeah,
Aldrovandus,
there's like pink stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Wait, the
You ever see those like blue-tailed
a
skinks?
skink?
Like they're in the
Are they
yeah.
two-legged? Is that what we're talking about here?
I think some of them are, and
I don't know.
salamanders certainly are.
Yeah, there's an image of a two-legged lizard here. I don't know what the fuck this boy is. He's adorable. I'll give him that much. Would you fucking pop his eyes out and drink them in your boba tea? I think that's the current meme, right? You pop
What
out
is
lizard eyes.
like boba tea?
I
What
have
even
no
is that
idea,
shit?
dude. I don't have a fucking clue.
I've just heard like Zoomer like 20-year-old women like saying it on Tinder and stuff.
I've had
Oh, I gotta
shitty
have
little
my boba
fucking
tea.
I've had shitty little bubbles in my fucking drink before, but basically it was not good and it was like just putting candy in there.
It's
I've
like
heard
Joe
that,
balls.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't need no candy, dog. I'm good. They suck. Where were we? Yes, juvenile, two-legged lizards, blah, blah, blah. Perhaps these two-legged snake-like dragons had been known for some time in medieval Europe. A 13th century statue of Eve and the serpent displayed at Reims Cathedral in Palais du Tau displays the same two-legged dragon motif. It is interesting to note that two-legged dragons have also been depicted in ancient Acambaro art found in Mexico and Chinese art. Yeah, I think we've seen enough fucking two-legged dragons. Now, the one with Eve here, this strikes me as a basilisk.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
So a basilisk is like a combination of like a snake and a fucking like rooster that like you die when you make eye contact with it, I believe is what happens. So I do
Yeah, 'cause
believe this is a depiction of the serpent as a basilisk.
No, that kind of goes back to the dinosaur angle because you got the avian kind of lizard.
You were right. Small degenerate dinosaurs. They went extinct as the earth changed. Now the earth is changing again and they're coming back, dude.
It's just like Skyrim. It's just like my video games.
Exactly.
I'm gonna get to be the Dragonborn, but with automatic weapons.
It's true.
Just blasting raptors. Can you imagine, like just like blasting them?
I can't. I would like to.
Shotgun blasting.
In medieval times, scientifically minded authors produced volumes called bestiaries, a compilation of known and sometimes imaginary animals accompanied by a moralizing explanation and fascinating pictures. One such volume is Aberdeen Bestiary, written in the early 1500s and preserved in the library of Henry VIII. Along with the newt, the salamander, and various kinds of snakes, is the description and depiction of the dragon. The dragon is bigger than all other snakes or all other living things on earth. For this reason, the Greeks call it Drakon. From this is derived its Latin name, Draco. The dragon, it is said, is often drawn forth from caves into the open air, causing the air to become turbulent. The dragon has a crest, a small mouth, and narrow blowholes through which it breathes and puts forth its tongue. Its strength lies not in its teeth, but in its tail, and it kills with a blow rather than a bite. It is free from poison. They say that it does not need poison to kill things because it kills anything around which it wraps its tail. From the dragon, not even the elephant, with its huge size, is safe. For lurking on paths along which elephants are accustomed to pass, the dragon knots its tail around their legs and kills them by suffocation. Dragons are born in Ethiopia and India, where it is hot all year round. Flavius Philostratus, the 3rd century historian, provided this sober account. The whole of India is girt with dragons of enormous size, for not only the marshes are full of them, but the mountains as well. There is not a single ridge without one. Now the marsh kind are sluggish in their habits, and are 30 cubits long, and they have no crest standing up on their heads. So, now it seems like Ethiopia and India are kind of the outer reaches of the known world at this time.
Yeah, because like you get like, India is described as this very mystic and like otherworldly place by like Alexander the Great and his troops. And like the elephants they encountered because they had seen them before in like Egypt. But the Indian elephants supposedly have way more of a temper. And like they were bred because they were bred to be war elephants and not like captured bush elephants like the Carthaginians and other cultures had. Like Asian elephants are supposed to be assholes and like they hate people they're trained to hate. So these elephants would have been super aggressive, and they would have like stomped the shit out of like infantry at the time, and they would have been picking up like people with their tusks and their trunks and throwing them, and so I
Got
mean
'em.
maybe, and also the Indians had armor for their elephants. That's another thing.
Huh. So St. John of Damascus, an Eastern monk who wrote in the 8th century, gives a sober account of dragons, insisting that they are mere reptiles and did not have magical powers. He quotes from the Roman historian Dio, who chronicled the Roman Empire in the 2nd century. It seems Regulus, a Roman consul, fought against Carthage when a dragon suddenly crept up and settled behind the wall of the Roman army. The Romans killed it, skinned it, and sent the hide to the Roman Senate. Dio claimed the hide was measured by order of the Senate and found to be 120 feet long. It seems unlikely that either Dio or the pious Saint John would support an outright fabrication involving a Roman consul and the Senate. That's a big
It
fucking
almost makes
dinosaur.
me think of like a dinosaur, a marine dinosaur, perhaps.
Like a sauropod.
Yeah. Because you hear like, you get like alligators and their skin is very valuable. Like a lot of times, you get these professional gator hunters in Louisiana, and they have to pay to get a license or whatever, but then they can hunt gators for meat and skin. Well, the gator skin is very valuable because it's quite tough and makes a good hide. So I wonder if like dinosaur skin would have been similar,
Hmm. The
or dragon
Welsh
skin.
The Welsh have numerous historical accounts of flying serpents. The woods around Penlyn Castle, Glamorgan, had the
They have a
reputation of,
dragon on the
being frequented by winged serpents, and these were the terror of old and young alike. An aged inhabitant of Penlyn, who died a few years ago, said that in his boyhood the winged serpents were described as very beautiful. They were coiled when in repose, and looked as if they were covered with jewels of all sorts. Some of them had crests sparkling with all the colors of the rainbow. When disturbed, they glided swiftly, sparkling all over to their hiding places. When angry, they flew over people's heads with outspread wings, bright and sometimes with eyes too. Like the feathers in a peacock's tail. He said it was no old story invented to frighten children, but a real fact. His father and uncle had killed some of them, for they were as bad as foxes for poultry. The old man attributed the extinction of the winged serpents to the fact that they were terrors in the farmyards and coverts. Terrors in the farmyards and coverts. The sparkling all over thing is interesting because that reminds me of the ropin of Papua New Guinea, who are said to be bioluminescent.
Yeah, and like the peacock feathers, you got like the feathered serpent.
Yeah. So we still have a couple.
There's this local like business that it's almost like a petting zoo or something that's kind of near where I live, and they have peacocks, right? And their peacocks get out all the time. So there's like it's not going to be reported on, but there's a wild population of peacocks in like my area adjacent. And like they get in the road sometimes. Well, we were driving by and there were two in the road, and it was two males, and they were like fighting like chickens. It was fucking interesting.
Sweet.
Like they just go up in the air and like try to spur each other, and like their feathers would display, and freaking sweet.
The prolific 17th century writer Athanasius Kircher recorded how some nobleman, Christopher Schroerer, these are all just fake names, fake dinosaurs, fake names. This is all bullshit.
Fake name.
Schroerum, Christopher Schroerum, prefect of the entire territory, wrote a true history summarizing their all, for by that way he was able to confirm the truth of the things experienced, and indeed the things truly seen by the eye, written in his own words. On a warm night in 1619, while contemplating the serenity of the heavens, I saw a shining dragon of great size in front of Mount Pilatus. Coming from the opposite side of the lake or hollow, a cave that is named Flew, moving rapidly in an agitated way, seen flying across. This is how Chris Chan writes. Christ. It was of a large size, with a long tail and a long neck and reptile's head, and ferocious gaping jaws. As it flew, it was like iron struck on a forge when pressed together that scatters sparks. At first I thought it was a meteor from what I saw, but after I diligently observed it alone, I understood it was indeed a dragon from the motion of the limbs of the entire body. From the writings of a respected clergyman, in fact, a dragon truly exists in nature. It is amply established. Such bioluminescent nocturnal flying creatures are known in some regions still today. Might they not be the basis for the fiery dragon lore from ancient civilizations around the world?
Aren't you?
John
Aren't you a
Harris
dragon?
was a scientific man that edited the first encyclopedia. He gives a singularly account of the capture of a dragon. We have, in an ancient author, a very large and circumstantial account of the taking of a dragon on the frontiers of Ethiopia, which was 120 feet in length, and was carried by Ptolemy Philadelphus, who very bountifully rewarded such.
Philadelphus. That's like a fake sounding name.
They're all fake names, dude. The funny thing is, I'm pretty sure all of these fucking sources, like all of these books, are written by creationists, essentially. So half this shit could be fake. Who very bountifully rewarded such as ran the hazard of procuring him the beast. Fucking written like Chris Chan. Okay, so this wasn't creationist stuff. This is from 1764. But this pales in comparison to the account of Saint Ambrose given to the dragons, seen in the neighborhood of the Ganges, nearly 70 cubits in length. It was one of this size that Alexander and his armies saw in a cave. Its terrible hissing made a strong impression on the Macedonians who, with all their courage, could not help being frightened at so horrid a spectacle. As Western pioneers colonized tribal lands around the world, reports of dragons continued to come back to Europe. It became standard practice for cartographers to identify the unexplored regions at the periphery of their maps with the cryptic words, "Here be dragons." But as civilization took hold even in remote regions, the changes to the ecosystem and hunting down of predators took its toll on the remaining dinosaurian remnants. In 16th century Italian explorer Pigafetta, in a report of the Kingdom of Congo, described the province of Bemba, which he defines as on the seacoast from the river Ambries until the river Coanza towards the south, and says of serpents, there are also certain other creatures which, being as big as rams, have wings like dragons, with long tails and long chaps, and diverse rows of teeth, and feed upon raw flesh. Their color is blue and green, their skin painted like scales, and they have 2 feet, but no more. The pagan Negroes used to worship them as gods. Am I allowed to say pagan Negroes?
Hey, that's what you get when you go to like a modern pagan.
The
thing.
pagan meetup is a bunch of Mexicans.
Yeah, that's what you get.
Oh, God. The pagan Negroes, pagan Negroes, pagan Negroes, pagan Negroes. If you say it 5 times, the channel gets fucking deleted. They used to worship them as gods, and to this day you may see diverse of them that are kept for a marvel. And because they are very rare, the chief lords there curiously preserve them and suffer the people to worship them, which tendeth greatly to their profits by reason of the gifts and oblations which the people offer unto them. Is my stream still up?
Is it?
Yeah, we're good. We're allowed to
I guess
say
it's
that.
okay if it's like a literary use.
Yeah, it's okay if Italians say it.
Oh, there's a reason. There's a reason.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Pagan Negroes. Fantastic.
Pagan
Who said
ninja.
that? Let me...
It's Italian. They have the N-word pass.
God damn, dude. All right, I got to recover from that one. Where was I?
Italian.
Where the fuck were we, man?
Have you seen that guy that like does Fox News stuff? His name's like Dan Boragino. He looks like he's black and he's Italian. I'm not joking. Like Google a picture of Dan Boragino. And he like gets pissed
I will
off
never-
when people say he looks black. That's
I
what's
will
funny.
never Google that. I will never Google that. Yeah,
Dan
Filippo
Boragino.
Pigafetta was the source for the Pagan Negroes comment. It wasn't me.
Pigafetto.
Author Charles Gould sought to dispel supernatural notions and give a sober account of the dragons. The dragon is nothing more than a serpent of enormous size, and they formally distinguished three sorts of them in the Indies. Such as were in the mountains, such as were bred in the caves or in the flat country, and such as were found in fens and marshes. The first is the largest of all and are covered with scales as resplendent as polished gold. These have a kind of beard hanging from their lower jaw, their eyebrows large and very exactly arched. Their aspect the most frightful that can be imagined, and their cry loud and shrill. Their crests of a bright yellow, and protuberance on their heads of the color of burning coal. Those of the flat country differ from the former in nothing but in having their scales of a silver color, and in their frequenting rivers to which the former never come. Those that live in the marshes and fens are of a dark color, approaching to a black, move slowly, have no crest, or any rising upon their heads. So where were these? This is just the three types of dragons that exist.
One of them sounds like it has like a rooster crest or something. Like, what do they call that? A fucking comb.
We got Whoopconda in the chat. Did I hear you for a brief moment in the call, Whoopconda, or did someone else say fucking pagan ninjas?
Pagan ninjas.
Okay.
Pagan ninjas.
Gotcha. That is a good call, actually. That's what I'll say going forward. Anytime I have to say pagan Negroes, I'll just say pagan ninjas.
Pagan ninjas.
That's what I have to do to survive on YouTube. That's required. The 17th century Bible scholar Samuel Bochart penned an in-depth study of the animals in the Bible. He describes how winged serpents are not only a thing in the Old Testament, but were still alive in his day. If on your travels you encounter the serpent with wings who circles and hurls himself at you, the flying snake, hide yourself, hide your wives, because of its reputation.
Flying snake after your wives.
Yeah, dude. Lie down when the snake appears and guard yourself in alarm, for that snake's manner is to go away calm, considering it a victory. There are winged and flying serpents that can be found who are venomous, who snort, and are savage and kill with pain worse than fire.
Pain worse than fire. That sounds like a neurotoxin or something.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a reference to the speculated venomous nature of the seraphim in the Old Testament account. Most definitely.
Yeah, because I've heard the burning like fire is associated with them.
I want to find this. The Hierozoicon. That's the coolest name I've ever heard, dude. Fuck, man. I got to find this book. It's definitely not in English. Samuel Bochart. Because I want to know more about the animals in the Bible.
Bochard.
Yeah, whatever, dude. There are like unicorns and shit in the Bible. I want to know.
Unicorns, yes. Because unicorns are associated with purity, right? They're
Not totally sure. I'd have to go back to that. I know there's reference in Psalms, which to me would express rarity, maybe purity, but I'm not sure about that.
Because I thought only a
They are
virgin
in
could
fantasy.
attract one or something.
What was that? Nobody?
They are in fantasy. I don't know about in actual scripture though.
That's my problem. Is that I'm thinking of unicorns, as we think of them as the
Scripturally.
white horses and shit like that, and that I could see that as purity. That makes sense to me. That is relatively modern. You find a lot more of goat-like creatures the further back you go.
Huh. Like a goat. And that actually makes sense though, because there's some species of deer, like the roe deer, that have an occurrence for a bigger chance to have one horn.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking though. Is it could be a rare mutation that was highly prized. It could be an extinct animal. That's possible too. But I do think there are. What has one horn today? There must be something.
Rhinos.
Yeah,
Rhinos.
some rhinos. All right, hold on. Let me. Fuck. I don't want to lose my place here. I want to look up one-horned goat, unicorn goat. See what happens here. Okay, so there was, what the fuck was it? There was fucking megafauna that were ungulates with one giant horn.
Yeah. You ever see one of those Irish elk?
Yeah.
That have like the massive. They were like their antlers were stupidly big, and like they were so stupidly big, it might have caused them to die out because they had to eat so much to like carry around the kind of weight they were carrying. When like the ice age ended and there wasn't like as much steppe grassland, they perished.
So elasmotherium it's the woolly it's like a woolly rhino with one giant horn.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can definitely look at some of this stuff and be like, maybe these are species that lived into more modern times that we're not aware of today. I can also find images of goats with one horn. I can find one that looks like a definite mutation with a single horn on top of its head. I don't know if that's just
There's
bad
a lot of
taxidermy. It might be
antelopes.
bad
There's a lot of
taxidermy.
antelopes. There's like a lot of antelopes that have not one horn, but they'll have like pronged horns, and they're like there's a species of them. They're not really related to true antelopes or goats. They're more of related to the family of giraffes, but there's not like any other ancestor left on that part of the family. And they're called a pronghorn antelope, and they're from like the Southwest U.S. And you see, here's the interesting thing about them. Supposedly, they like were around for a predator that doesn't exist anymore. 'Cause at one point, there was supposedly this mountain lion that acted like a cheetah or whatever, and it like chased these things down at like 70 miles an hour. So these antelope got to where they could run at like 100 miles an hour or some crazy shit like that. And like that cat died out, but today they can still run that fast. And like nothing on North America can even catch them.
Yeah. Yep. It's fucking little things like that are what give me like hints at evolution, to be honest. It's all these little things.
I mean, some of it is, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen and it doesn't exist, but I think there's a definite start to everything, and there's a definite flow. Like there is an entity that made reality at some point.
I feel like when people talk about intelligent design, I feel like they almost personify. Now, like talking about like little things, we were talking previously about like little things that almost seem like blasphemous to me. And this isn't like an accusation. I'm not that invested in this. But to me, to personify God to that degree where you have to limit everything to kinds. You have to limit everything to a set amount of designs. You have to, everything has to be like hand fucking picked. That to me is almost such a personification. Like the God the Father is not man, and you can say like God is human because Jesus is, but that I don't think that is essentially the creator of the universe. I think the force of the logos was used in creation, existed since creation. However, I do believe God the Father is far greater than humans can even imagine. Metaphors like the potter are used as like God as the potter. Like these are ideas to help small children understand. But at a certain point, it's like God's creation happens all the time. And I would never want to simplify it till a snap of the fingers, poof, everything exists the way a lot of creationists do. I think the progression of it,
everything's a process.
The constant progression, the constant of filling of niches, the constant breaking off of branches, all of that shit, that is the creation. Like it's constant, and it like all I can do is use human metaphors. So I guess I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, they're so fucking limiting. I want to say like the process of the natural world is almost like the movie that God made, but that doesn't do it justice because it's just happening all the time before your very eyes. I think evolution is a part of that. It's a misunderstood part of that.
What if we're all just like a figment in God's like brain?
Well, that gets into Gnostic stuff where like it is our collective conscious as many subjective pieces of the objective God, because that's how he emanates into consciousness, essentially. Our collective consciousness holding us in a material prison. That is like the demiurge of the Gnostics.
Yeah.
That takes you into Eastern ideas of like reincarnation and samsara and all of
Buddhism.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, and like I know K98 would throw a fit about me saying this. I don't know about our other Buddhist guy, Shakti, but like there's some like, and I'm not saying they're closely related by any means, but there's some like interesting parallels between like some Buddhist ideas and like some like Christianity, like with the monastic traditions and the that's one of them, and then there's the friggin' this idea of like a figure that comes and like makes everyone realize.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Kalki. Kalki
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
common one. It's like a messiah in Eastern thought. They have very similar ideas about those sorts of things. A rider on a white
Similar
horse
ideas
returning.
in like every religion.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to this demiurge thing for a second because it almost feels like it's coming out of two sides of my mouth when I say like God created everything, but then I'm like, it is our collective consciousness that created this material world as a prison. But then it's two sides of the same coin, I believe, is what it is. It is objective reality, which is only God, no time and space, where everything exists as a potential existing simultaneously in one glorious moment, but never physical, is the objective. And then the subjective reality, which is like all of our shared experience, which a lot of people would say is God experiencing himself. We look at the majesty of the world and we see it hearkening to something beyond that, far greater. And then we get homesick, and then it starts to feel like a prison. It's two sides of the same coin, and that's almost like the cosmic joke.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, like there's some days like recently when my PC shit itself and the everything wanted to fucking suck. I was like, yeah, like it seemed like, you know, you get tested almost, and that's like part of existence in a way. It's all one big test, and that's why like everything has a reaction, everything has a consequence per se.
Yeah, which once again makes me think of karma.
Yeah.
Which makes me think of even natural selection at that point too. I don't know. It all comes together. Basically, everything starts to just be like one fractal. At the center of that is God, and so a fractal is a geometric shape that's like infinitely complex. The farther you keep zooming in on the edges, and it just gets more and more. You keep seeing a repetition of the same pattern, but always in new expressions. And like that's how I see the world. It sounds
like,
very
you know,
in Joe Rogan, but
yeah, in the Old Testament where you get with God, like when he talks to friggin' Moses, not Moses, yeah, Moses, the Ten Commandments. Like how do you think God would present himself to humans? Like what would he look like? That's the
Jesus.
big question. And so you think so? Like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I do. I think he would be Jesus. Now, I think honestly, that's what that's what I believe. And it's very, very heretical. When the angel of the Lord appears before people in the Bible and they get down on their hands and knees as if like bowing before it. I'll tell you this,
man. Yeah, the
man.
angel tells them to stop some of the time, yeah.
I'll tell you this, in the Old Testament, man, and I would like to look into that. Yeah, he does say to arise. I don't think he ever says not to bow. To me, that's a very important distinction because, like, there are many stories. You go back to Daniel in the Old Testament, Daniel refuses to bow before graven images and things like that. You're not supposed to worship anything. Prostrating yourself, to me, is an act of worship. You're not supposed to do that to anything but God. Then the angel of the Lord appears before you, and you fucking get down on your face. And that's what you're supposed to do. And the thing is, why would you give that an act of worship? Why would you do that for an archangel? To me, I mean, it might be.
I think angels, like, they don't have free will, or do they? That's the question. Like,
none of this shit, all of this shit about angels, like, it's not answered in the Bible because angel is a very vague term that doesn't define.
They're having to use all these secondary fucking like weird sources.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is you're essentially, when you're going all in depth with angels, you're 75% of the time, man.
They're knock a lot. Yeah.
I wish, dude, you're using the Talmud. You're using the Talmud 75% of the time when they talk
Sometimes.
about this.
Yep.
It all comes from Kabbalah mostly, and there are like Catholic sources for this stuff. But when you're hearing
Yeah.
it in like from the more mystical angles, when they're talking about like magic and like stuff like that, Enochian even, like they're
Yeah.
taken from the Kabbalah, and by way of Kabbalah, they're taken from the Talmud because the Kabbalah is using all that tradition.
Yeah.
So
A lot of that
that's
comes.
the issue.
Yeah, a lot.
So,
yeah.
but back on topic here is like, why would you prostrate yourself before the angel of the Lord? And like, how does the Lord present himself to his followers, but like in the Old Testament? And he does many times. I would say he's Jesus. I would say that when God walked with man in the Garden of Eden, that
Looked like
that was
Jesus?
Jesus. They were saying Jesus. In some form or another. I think it was the Logos more importantly than his actual form. It was the Logos,
Hear
the
about
Word
the-
of
like
God.
the Russian-
When Moses speaks with God, God is using words. The Word of God, the Logos.
It was like this Russian girl or whatever that was like an atheist or something, but she almost died or something, and then she converted to Christianity. And then like she almost died again and went into a coma. And like supposedly she came back and said that she actually died and saw Christ in heaven and like drew a painting of him.
That just
There's
sounds
like-
like crazy talk, but whatever.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Like, and he's like, he looks like this like olive complected, green eyed guy.
There's
But-
a whole bunch
Long
of,
or
like,
short hair?
Yeah.
photos like that.
He had kind of like medium length hair.
Was he white?
I would say he looked like Mediterranean, like an Italian or a Greek. Yeah.
So Pax Romana being in the chat says they could also have been falling over in shock. I think there's an element of that, but
Yeah.
then again, I think the tradition of prostration is too well attested to, like when that comes up. So I do think there is prostration before these archangels, before the angel of the Lord, that sort of thing. And I think there's a good chance what they were seeing was the Word of God, which is the Logos, that is Jesus before his human form. Hell yeah. Love talking about Jesus.
I never really thought of that angle though, but it makes sense. Like, yeah,
It's Jehovah's Witness angle.
it is.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
I could go deeper into all that too, and I don't really buy it like word for word. Like they say, their idea is that Michael is Jesus in the form of what was said to be an angel, and I stress over and I hear you, man. But the thing is, I want to stress that from the Bible, you have almost no details about what an angel or a demon is. You have almost no details. You get details about like cherubim. You get almost no details about seraphim. Very, very, very little. You get the wheel. I don't know if that one's named in the Bible. The Jewish sources
the
will give all
throne.
this shit names, even if they don't
Thrones,
have
yeah.
names in the Bible. You have Gabriel. So like compare like Gabriel to the cherubim. There is no similarity whatsoever at
No.
all. These things they're not the same thing. They're called angel because it means messenger, and they can all be said to be messengers of God. So yeah, I feel like that's the problem, is like I want to use the Bible as my source for angels because I don't trust anything else. But what do I?
Like,
But if I'm gonna, I have to branch out. I have to listen to something.
it's almost like the scientist with like trying to make something out of like two pieces of bone. I guess you could say you're trying to piece something together from like a narrative that's like in a lot of different places.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And Islam has different orders of things. You can get a lot more detail out of Islam. The fact that Islam includes the jinn makes things so much more easy to understand, because what is generally seen as demons in Christianity would be seen as jinn in Islam. Now, I don't think that means there are no demons in Islam, but most of the possessions you see and hauntings and shit like that are easily explained as being jinn, which are basically like fae.
Yep, they're fairies.
They're another
Entities.
being with free will that lives on top of us.
Yep, and sometimes they can merge over.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
and
it's just like the story of that guy in Oregon. Like this is a classic fae story that gets passed around the internet. Or this
Now-
guy like named they moved into a house or whatever, and they like he had a 3-year-old son, and him and his wife moved in and with their kid or whatever, and his son was like talking to someone in like his room, and there's no one in the house but them. So they went up there and they're like, "Oh, who are you talking to?" And he's like, "Oh, the other kid who lives here." And they're like, "Well, what do you mean? There's no one here. You know, no one's." It's like, "Oh, they live in they come in through the window sometimes, or something like that." They think, you know, he has an imaginary friend or whatever. Kids are weird. They don't think anything of it. But then he like starts asking questions about like what dates are the fruit, and they like where would he hear about dates? Because like they live in Oregon and they've never
Yeah.
brought them home or. And then they asked him, "Well, where did you hear about that?" And he went, "Oh, the kid that flew in my room told me he likes to eat dates and milk." And that's like a thing with fays is milk. They love like cream and butter and milk, like milk
Yeah.
product. And then like there was one time the guy said he came home and there was like a hanger like floating in the living room. And it was just like suspended in the air until he touched it and then it fell down. And just weird shit like that. And that's like a thing attributed to fae.
It brings me back to the you asked about free will earlier. Now I know that I'm thinking about it more. I have an answer for that. In Islam, it is specified that angels do not have free will.
Good.
So
Kinda wanted to, yeah.
but this makes more sense. This story makes more sense than the fall in Christianity. Now the problem is with angels in Christianity, they have to have free will to some extent because they fell away from God and they joined the devil, allegedly, right?
Yes,
That's the story.
Some of them did. Some of them did, yeah.
Now, you have to have some element of free will to be able to do that. In Islam, no angels fell away. It was jinn who do have free
That's
will, who can
interesting.
convert, who can be evil, who can be Muslims or Christian. Yeah. So I think the Islamic telling of all of this, I'm getting some feedback from someone. I don't know who it is, but the Islamic telling to me makes a lot more sense than the Christian one does. Now, I start to wonder at this point, because the Christian stories are older, was the whole fall metaphorical for something? Did it come from another story about something else that was older? Was all of the stuff that added later in Islam after all of that sort of started to solidify in Christianity, adding some of the Arabian legends of the time? I don't know.
Well, you know, you hear about like that one tribe of people that lives in the middle of Saudi Arabia that's like the original Arabians, and they're like very seclusive.
The Bedouins.
There's something else. They're called something else, but like no one can get them to like talk on video or something, and they have like this strange version of Islam. Yeah.
There's the Druze, and then there is the
I believe it's the
Mandayans.
M1.
What the fuck is it?
Something with the M,
Mandayans.
yeah.
The Mandayans.
Yeah, I think it's the Mandayans. Yeah.
That is definitely not Islam. Whatever's going on there is not Islam.
Oh.
It seems like
Pagan.
a form of Gnosticism based around John the Baptist.
That's weird. Yeah.
It's all based around initiation and like levels, like
How
almost
did
like
that
Freemasonry.
survive?
It's got
And,
like
like-
handshakes and shit. Because it is another incarnation of the mystery school, man. And the mystery school don't go nowhere. The mystery school is the basis of the Antichrist system.
System,
Cooper would
yep.
allude to. And it's been here. It has many forms, some of them more innocuous than others. But it's always existed. Yeah. What were we talking about? We're talking about angels and shit. Did I have anything else to talk about there? I don't think so.
I don't think we're good on angels. We got any more animals attacking people?
Do I have? I don't have any more of that shit.
I
queued
wanted
up.
to close on animal attack.
What do I have? I got like one more video is worth playing. This rattlesnake attack. This video sucks. I don't want to close on.
What
that
about there's
video.
that one with the bear and the woman? I don't know though about it. I put it in bar and grill earlier.
Download more shit and add it to the fucking playlist. Is that what I have to do?
Yeah, it's
Hold on. Let me see if I have anything interesting I can.
it's a bear like
little
fucking attacking a
cow
woman in a
news.
tree stand, or it wants to attack her, but it's like a black bear, so it's retarded.
It's true. That's
'Cause black
true.
bears are just like giant raccoons.
God damn it. All right. I'll download that fucking thing, I guess. God.
Good, yeah,
damn.
it's a good one to close out on. A woman yelling at a bear.
Say some things.
Yeah, like black bears are like big raccoons most of the time. They're generally not super aggressive, and they'll generally run from you unless it's like a sow with cubs or something. And yeah, it's like grizzly bears are way worse. Like if I lived in bear country, I'd definitely be carrying at least a 10 millimeter semi-automatic handgun everywhere. Like 9 millimeter would be better than nothing, but I'd definitely be carrying solid, like copper solid projectiles at that point. Uh, but there was like one of the biggest grizzly bears of all time was killed by like this trapper woman. I believe she was like like a Native American trapper woman from like Saskatchewan, Canada. And she trapped this bear in like a bear trap, and it was like the biggest grizzly on record. And she killed it with like a fucking 22. And she just shot it in the ear and like brained it. And
Is
killed
it the Why I Never video?
Yeah. It's like a bear in a tree stand.
Cool.
Awesome.
Hold up. Let me get that URL. Let's pull up Scary
Yeah.
Black Screen. I wanted to eat some acid the past couple days. I didn't get the chance to. Oh, it's gonna take forever, dude. 3 minutes.
Oh, I can bullshit for 3 minutes.
That's true.
Yeah, I can talk more about animals, like and how like pigs are friggin' insane. Because I was hearing this story about these guys. They had this their pig farm in Arkansas, right? And they had these pigs, and like several of the boars were.
I have a
like,
better
800
idea.
pounds.
I have a better idea than pig stories. Sorry.
Pig stories.
Sorry, dude.
Help.
We're gonna welcome everyone to the Anti-Swag Corporation. They're gonna have to fucking
Oh
have
yeah,
to
yeah. Play that.
put
That's
up with this
Let's
shit for
go.
2 more minutes.
Play it. Play it. That's... Look at this dude.
Welcome, people. My name is Joseph Strickland. Strickland. Yes. Strickland. Anyway. Welcome to my new channel. The Anti-Swag Corporation.
Dude's pissed.
Now, on this
So, like-
particular channel,
He has some
Got a
mannerisms.
villain
Like
you're gonna find out why I am not a swag fag.
No, he can't say that.
No.
And since I have only 15 minutes to explain what this group is
Back in the old days, brother.
and what this channel
Back in the
really
Wild
means
West.
to me,
Internet.
let's figure that out. Alright, now, the Anti-Swag Corporation is the place to go. It is the place to be here on YouTube. It is the place to be here on Facebook. Whenever I make the group and when someone wants to be the first member of it. You have to be
What do you
my
think this
friend
guy's favorite
on
fast food
Facebook
is?
to actually be a member of the group.
Listerine.
So, therefore,
Listerine.
add me to the Facebook.
No, there was this
Joseph
guy that
Strickland
actually they
is
he
my
had to
name.
take to the hospital back when I worked at this
It's
drug rehab
my name on
place 'cause
Facebook,
He drank like
my
a
name
lot of
on
like
YouTube.
poisonous mouthwash.
Hell yeah,
And
dude.
this
Gotta
is
drink
the
it.
Anti-Swag
Like he could have
Corporation.
went blind, so they had to like pump it out of his stomach or some shit.
This is a corporation where swag fags will end.
Said it again.
There is no humanity in swag fags.
He's so mad.
If you
Okay.
want
I
to
love
know
his
why I'm
outfit,
wearing a
too.
snapback,
He's from Canada.
it's just a fucking hat, people. It's not swag.
Dude looks like he lives
a
off
hat.
of like maple syrup
Why don't
and
you
like
call things
whatever else fucking Canadian.
like high
eat, I don't
tops?
know.
Simply call them high tops.
Don't they eat like cheese curds and gravy or
Or
some
just call
shit?
them
I
by
bet
their
that's
brand
all he's
names.
ever tasted in his
BCs,
life.
Supras, Urban Heritage.
Oh, he's got like the soy, like the
Um,
fat soy arms. Like you see like
I don't
guys.
know.
that
This
get real
dude,
fat off a
get
lot.
this.
Yeah.
This dude is like 25 here.
Stuff like that.
He looks like he's
Call them by
15.
their brand names.
He looks like he's
All right, now
15.
use that
You
information
can call these
and
hats,
your logical
just say
skills. What else is he?
snapbacks, or hats.
He's probably.
Come
I'm
on,
gonna
you got
say,
this. You got this.
Have
He's
you ever been
Flex
arrested
fits,
for
they're
being a
hats too.
pedophile?
Hey, we got
I
it.
got
Now,
it.
to be completely honest with you guys, I'm an old
I got it.
school.
I got a
Ding, ding,
pedo
ding, ding,
vibe
ding,
from
ding.
him.
I
He's a
like
I did get a
pedo.
pedo vibe.
pop, rap, and hip
Yeah,
hop from
I did get a vibe
the
from him.
early 2000s.
It's like he's got these
and
weird
the late
shaped
90s.
forearms. Like he'll hold them up again, and like they're sloped at an angle.
I
Like all the
like
fat is like
Yeah,
developed on
modern
the
rock
ends and not
music.
on the front for some reason.
through
He's got
1999
He'll
fucking
show,
like
like,
Mardi
now.
Gras beads on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he
Dude.
does have
He's gonna
Mardi
show
Gras.
his tits, brother.
That is the stuff I like. That is the type
Who would
of
win
music
between in
I
a
like.
fight between him and Ethan Ralph? That's what I want
This
to know.
dude.
Swag fags,
He knows the
However,
ancient Algonquin way of
Have
self-defense, dude.
some of the worst.
It would be like a
tasting beer
sumo
swag
wrestling
ever.
fight. Like, can you imagine
No
the sound of
way.
like the
Pancake.
slapping of flesh sound?
Drake,
Slap.
Justin Bieber.
It
Ugh.
would be like a
No.
gun off.
Nicki Minaj.
They just
Fuck
slap
that
their guts
bitch.
together.
Motherfucking
whoever can knock one down.
Two
wins.
Chains. Fucking. I don't know.
So enough of this
Gucci
bullshit.
Mister.
Dude, that
That's
bear's
right.
like,
Oh, you're
fuck
gonna
you.
fall.
He's once up there.
His legs are swinging. Oh my god, you are funny.
You are.
Look at his mouth.
Look at him.
Okay,
Here he
that's.
goes.
Oh, you are gonna get so stuck in there. Your ass is too big. Okay.
Dude, he's capable.
Get down.
Look at him.
Holy shit.
Do you see this?
Wait
This
for
is
her
a
voice
finger
to
that's telling you
change.
to get down.
Oh, here he comes. He's coming up there.
Down. No. Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
What? It cuts off,
That's it.
dude? That's nonsense.
Yeah, like, can you imagine? How do you get out of that though?
Fucking
like,
rip
if you
off,
won't get off
dude.
the
Shoot it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got that gun. First thing you do is fucking kick it in the head as hard as you can. If that don't work, then you're blasting them.
shoot its ass. Like if you don't have a gun and like you're up there like trying to clear like brush or something and like that thing
Fucking-
comes up there, you're like fucked because like how are you
Goomba
gonna get
stomp
down?
it.
Yeah, honestly, fucking
Yeah.
smash it in the face with the butt of your rifle is probably the way to go, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, if you don't have a gun though, because like a lot of the time, like during like the summer or whatever, when I'm like trying to get ready for the deer season, I'll climb up in stands or whatever, and I'll like clear brush away. I won't have a gun on me or
Yeah.
anything, or if I do, I'll have a pistol. I
Yeah.
don't have a rifle, and I'll be like, if I was up there and I didn't have a gun, like, what do you do in that situation? I guess you start trying to kick it off.
I would kick it right in the fucking nose.
That's the only thing you can do, I guess.
I bet it would work. I bet.
At least it's a
Yeah.
black bear.
Yeah,
not
if
a
it's grizzly, I don't
You
know
can
about that,
scare
but
it
a
away.
black bear, he'll fucking because that you could break his fucking
Extreme.
nose. You could do that. That would fuck him up bad.
Because that one where the black bear like fucks up the hog though, that one was pretty crazy. Because I've never seen a black bear like being predatory.
Yeah.
Like straight up predatory.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're gonna get the fuck out of here. I want to play some video games or something. Join the fucking Discord, patreon.com/yakovalive. Play video games with me. Yakobees.com. Hit that merch tab. Listen to them podcasts. Follow me on Twitter at SkinwalkerGang.
Yeah, and I got more content coming on my channel. It's just been a rough couple of weeks because my old PC fucking exploded. I got a new one, but everything's gone. So I'm trying to rebuild and re-get everything. I'll have some more
Re-get.
content up probably in a couple of weeks, and I'll have the Patreon for my channel up eventually. But yeah.
Fuck yeah. Nobody. Do you want to say anything? Got anything to shill?
Just thanks for having me here. Nothing
Gladly.
to show.
All right.
Oh, it was great. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. I will catch y'all next week, motherfucker.